Joseph.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Thursday, July 5th, 2024 Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order, please. Have a roll call.
Commissioner Marquardt?
Here.
Commissioner Mallory?
Here.
Commissioner Brown?
Here.
And we are going to have an invitation this morning from Eric Lucero from Christ Community Church.
Please record your message.
Oh, there he is.
Recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options. To leave a call.
If you'll bow your heads with me in prayer. Heavenly Father, first, Lord, we thank you, Lord, for this great nation that you put us in, Lord. I just thank you for every single person that's in this room today, Lord. I know that not one person is here by accident. Lord, I pray for unity in this meeting. Lord, I pray for personal agendas to be put aside, Lord, and I pray for us just to consider your goodness and who you are. So, Lord, we want your presence in this meeting. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. And Commissioner Matherly is going to lead us in the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of friendships among united cultures. All right. Anybody want to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we've got a proclamation that I'll read real quick on civil health. Celebrating Civic Health Month. Whereas civic health describes the capacity of a community to address issues that impact the well-being of a community members through voter registration and active participation in local, state, and federal elections. And whereas health outcomes may be determined by non-medical factors including access to food, transportation, affordable housing, community engagement. And whereas civic health is a crucial aspect to an individual's health and individuals who vote as a form of civic participation self-report better health than individuals who do not vote. Whereas voting can lead to greater social cohesion, a sense of belonging, and improved community conditions. And whereas adolescents followed into adulthood were found to have more positive mental health and health behaviors when they voted. And whereas community health professionals are trusted members of society and are well positioned to provide information and support regarding voter registration. Whereas only 47% of eligible voters in Otero County voted in the 2022 election, and whereas encouraging community members to register to vote and participate in elections is a critical action public health professionals can take to improve not only community-level civic health, but also individual-level physical and mental health. And whereas hundreds of healthcare, community health, and civic engagement organizations across the United States unite to celebrate Civic Health Month each August, and whereas current federal law supports nonpartisan voter registration efforts at healthcare facilities with further support by government agencies like the Health Resources and Services Administration and the Department of Education. And whereas given that civic health strengthens democracy and improves community health outcomes, it is altogether fitting and proper to designate August of each year as Civic Health Month in Otero County, New Mexico. Now, therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Otero County, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim the month of August as Civic Health Month throughout Otero County to recognize the efforts of community health programs and professionals countywide, bring awareness to the importance of civic health, and call upon the people of Otero County to observe this month with appropriate programs, activities, and ceremonies. Proclaimed during a regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners of Otero County, New Mexico, this 25th day of July, 2024. Is anybody here to get this, or? Oh, there you are. Do we want a picture? Sure. Me and Hook. Hi, how are you? Good. Good.
How you doing?
Hold that. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're ready for the sheriff's office report.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Black, Otero County Sheriff.
Good morning.
Okay, for the Sheriff's Office in June, Sheriff's Office responded to 2,737 calls for service. It averages out to like 91.2 calls per day. We generated 323 investigations, conducted 88 traffic crash investigations. We did have 109 arrests. 2 warrants were submitted, and we issued 119 traffic citations. Served 165 subpoenas or documents for the courts. And we did respond to about 180 calls for the Tularosa community, helping them out. In narcotics, we had 8 search warrants, resulted in 26 arrests, 1 agency assist, generated 29 case reports, $150 in cash was seized. We had 3 vehicles seized, 2 firearms seized, 19 fugitives apprehended, 13.4 grams of meth was seized, and 1,702 fentanyl pills were seized during these investigations. Total of about $27,000 worth of illegal narcotics seized. For our special events, the only thing we had in June, we did participate in the Holloman Air Show. We had a booth, and then we also helped them out with a little bit of security and stuff, what we could out there. Training for the SO, we've been ongoing with the mandated classes and stuff. We're getting caught up on that, making sure that that's all done by the end of the year. We do have the opportunity to participate in a program sponsored by the New Mexico counties, which we are updating our policies and procedures. This is a really big deal that the New Mexico counties forked out the money for all sheriff's offices throughout the state. That we are just basically revamping all of the policies and procedures. And again, they footed the money on this, well over $1 million to do this. So we appreciate New Mexico counties doing that for us. What this is going to allow us to do is, as we've got, I think, 5 different sections in there. So section 1 we just finished. As we go along with these policies and stuff, when we get done with them, we will start shooting them out via email or not social media, through the county website and stuff to each and every deputy, to where they will have the opportunity to review them. And it's not just review and check a box. It's review, take a test so that you understand that policy, and then they'll check a box in that they've reviewed the policies and they understand them. So that's going to be big for us, making sure everybody understands those policies. In our manning department, how things can change in a month. Last month, they're reporting having 5 vacancies. Both of them have completed their necessary waiver. Well, Woodring's headed to the academy in August. Benito Wallace completed his waiver in Santa Fe. He is now in the FTO program. I do have 4 deputies also headed to the academy in August. I had 1 deputy resign to take a position with a construction company in the Farmington area. 1 deputy left due to he wanted to be closer to his family, some health issues within the family in Silver City. And I have 2 deputies that will soon be leaving based on a possible medical retirement and stuff. I do have 2 personnel who started, 2 additional that have started with us as lateral transfers. I think Monday, they'll both report and start on Monday. Right now, I have 63 authorized positions. I do have 6 vacancies. We will be conducting a physical fitness assessment on August 17th at the high school and see if we can get those positions filled. We've also posted again as far as lateral transfers. See if we can get anybody that wants a lateral roll. The guys that just got out of the academy, I had 3 of those that graduated in June 4th. They have completed their post-academy training and they are now in training with their field training officer. As far as our vehicles, we've got had 9 Tahoes over there in various stages of upfitting. Talking with them yesterday, I should have 2, either Monday or Tuesday, and get those in rotation. And then we'll have a few more, a couple weeks after that. So the only other thing was, again, I brought this up at the last meeting, but I just wanted to, since it happened in June, I wanted to publicly thank not only with the Sheriff's Office, Alamogordo Police Department, New Mexico State Police, United States Border Patrol, Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, and New Mexico Department of Game and Fish, and members of the Tularosa Basin Regional Dispatch Authority, and for participating in that, what we call it, drug roundup. We arrested 22 people on that roundup. I think now we're up to 26 of the felony warrants have been served. So those people are now dealing with the court system. So that is all I have. I will stand for any questions.
I have one. Last month, we talked about some of the issues in Bowles Acres, not only with the code enforcement, but the encroachment of the easements with junk, abandoned vehicles. You were going to send somebody out to the one on First Street and the one on Rose Street. Did that happen?
I know Sergeant Maribel went out there, and I'll be honest with you, I do not have a report back from him. He's on duty today. I can probably have your report shortly after the meeting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I know it's not a county issue, and we've been talking to Francisco at the Department of Transportation about that trailer that's parked there by the intersection of 82 and North Florida. Do we know any new updates? Last I heard, it was a kind of a pissing contest between the 2 insurance companies of who was going to pay to have it removed. And
Exactly what it was, between the truck driver and the company that owns the trailer. There was kind of a mess about who's going to pay for it. I'll tell you right now, as we speak, it is being prepared, it is being moved right now.
Good.
We've got Mexico Department of Transportation, we got a couple of my guys and some state police guys over there, and that's the information I received this morning is being moved right now.
good, good. That's good news.
Well, what the bad thing about it is New Mexico DOT is going to foot the bill on it.
Yeah. Now, Francisco said they'd fight with the insurance, but they were going to get it moved, so
Yeah.
that was good.
Yeah.
Anything?
That made me forget what my question was.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, I do. So I don't know if this is a you question or an RB question, but we have filed court papers on that mobile home with the squatters out on Quail Trail. I received another complaint yesterday where they're now putting up tire fences all over the place. Is there a way we can serve like a cease and desist or something to stop the destruction until we figure out this in court?
We did we declare it derelict, the mobile home to?
It's the ones that have the squatters living in it.
Okay.
And that are very combative.
I would have to get with code enforcement. I think they filed charges against them for trash, violation of the solid waste ordinance. And one way to get around the solid waste ordinance is having a fence that is, blocks the view of your junk from the public. So on one way they may be doing that, but there's a whole lot of regulation around tires and how they're used, so that's something that can be looked at as well. But I need to get more information from code enforcement to know what's going on with them.
I didn't call them because I knew we would be here today.
So, speaking of trash, on that same kind of deal, there was a trash episode on Griffin Road or Gravel Pit. The couches, they have evidence of the name, the people. Have they been cited? Have these people come picked it up? They need to be on the front page of the newspaper with the big old picture of the trash and in handcuffs, and people start thinking about it?
I do not have an answer for that, or a result of it. I did hear something about it, but I have not looked at any investigation, or I don't know whether we got it or whether code enforcement got it.
I don't know, I'm just coming back to work, so.
I saw
It's a little
some,
vacation, so.
I saw public shaming on Facebook. I don't know if they actually called us.
It was mentioned in the public shaming, they were gonna contact the sheriff's department.
Yeah. I can check. I don't know that it's been reported to us, but I can double check. Again, I can have you an answer here right after the meeting.
Okay.
And I just wanted to let you guys know, and I'm going to make a little bit bigger deal out of this next month at our meeting, but Sunday, Sheriff Black leaves for Florida because he's been nominated or won their Executive of the Year for the whole United States. So he's going out there to receive that this week. So that's a pretty big honor for Otero County. So we're proud of you.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's something that's kind of been passionate to me is their program and how can we get in and talk with these kiddos before they get into the middle school, the junior year in high school. Can we educate them a little bit about the harmful, not only drugs, social media, bullying, and all this stuff. So we've built this program up within the county. We are now working with other agencies throughout the state, and that's the goal, is to build this program up and see if we can make a difference with these kiddos before they steer off down that wrong path.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that. So,
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
all right, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Batter up.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Martin, 911 Director. How are you guys today?
Good, how are you?
Good. So for June, 911 calls, we did 2,859 911s. Our officer lines, we did about 1,203. Admin lines, 9,298 for a total of 13,360 calls into the 911 center, which is about 500 more calls that we did than last month. So it was a busy month. We currently have one supervisor position open, which is a night shift supervisor position. We are currently taking applications, and we will be reviewing those applications the first week of August. We have 7 communication officer positions open, and we have 4 that are currently testing right now. And we do have our new position, our public safety IT person that we advertised. And we have a few applications sitting on my desk, which will be a review of the first week of August too. We do have some people that actually have some experience in IT services. Some events, we did go through our EMD inspection for the state, so we're just waiting for that to come back. I don't see why we would not pass it. We were able to provide them everything that they requested. We did have our mobile command bus to assist with the volunteer EMS up at the Cherry Festival for air conditioning. I believe they enjoyed it and we'll continue to help them out. And we've told RB that anytime they want the bus up there for air conditioning, for anything, just let us know and we'll provide it. We did do, and I don't know if I brought this up at the last meeting, we did have our Taberta board members do a tour of El Paso 911. Very cool, and some of the technology and what they're implementing in the center. Myself and my deputy director did attend the National NINA conference. That is one of the 911 organizations that do a conference each year, which was in Orlando. We do have 3 communication officers that will be attending the PST Academy next month. That is 1 that has been with us and 2 that just recently started with us. We did kind of start something new. We're creating a 911 education and engagement committee within the 911 center. And Supervisor Mary Miller will be starting that. She did create our first TikTok last night for Taverta, and she will be on the Facebook page doing things and just getting us out there and getting us to events that are occurring within the county and the city limits. One of the cool things that we're currently working on, we've been back and forth with El Paso 911. They have a 988 program which covers 56 counties within Texas, and they go through a Merge Health network. They pretty much contract it out, but they provide it in the 911 center. So the 911 center works directly with 988 to provide mental health care within the 911 center. So there's people that are calling 911, instead of sending a law enforcement officer or sending an ambulance out there, they're actually handling it in the 911 center over the phone and providing them the actual resources that they need instead of throwing them in a dump tank at the hospital or something. They have actually, so far, it's only been up for about a year and a half, I believe. They've decreased their response about 12% for their call volume. Again, it's in the center, it works hand in hand on their CAD, so we're kind of looking at a program right now, and we'll be presenting it to our Taverta board when we actually have all that stuff ready to go for our next meeting. Some technology updates in the center. We moved over to digital alerts with Rapid SOS. Pretty much that's going to provide us any alarm information to a Rapid SOS portal, so we won't actually receive any more ADT or Honeywell Simply Safe calls into the 911 center. It pushes it automatically through the database. We added another translation company because we were having issues with language lines, so we went to Voyance, which is directly paid by the state of DFA. We're still working and updating our quality assurance program with APCO for EMD, and we're in the process right now with Prepared 911, who is our video to 911 and outbound text messages. They have a translation program which will transcribe all the calls that come into the 911 center right at our face. Pretty much we'll take that information, use AI to summarize it, and we can pretty much copy and paste it right into the call card of what the caller's saying to us. So it kind of speeds that process up, and just in case if a dispatcher misses something, it alerts our supervisors in the center. If someone says shots fired or medication, overdoses, we can flag certain words from where our callers are saying to alert people in the center, hey, this person may have a call, we may want to listen into it, or this is something we need to quality assurance after or later on to make sure that everything went smoothly. Training, my ops manager, Amelia Burr, she's starting our Registered Public Safety Leader program. It's a year-long course. 6 courses throughout the year with 2 different service projects, 1 major service project, which she's doing at a state level with all the 911 centers in the state of New Mexico, with little service projects during each course. So hopefully in about a year, we will be able to, applause her for getting her Registered Public Leader Safety Program through National APCO. We had 2 supervisors attend the APCO CCS program, which is the Communication Center Manager Program. And we have 3 that are going to be attending the NINA supervisor course in El Paso next month. New Mexico LEA, our continuous education courses, big update with that. They pretty much grandfathered all dispatchers across the state of New Mexico, even if they did not meet the requirements for continuous education for the year. So they granted them, grandfathered them, issued everyone a new certification, and actually put an expiration date on those certifications, which per statutes that they don't do expiration dates. The reason they're doing it is because of the non-compliance with the whole state of New Mexico with PST certifications. So they just want to make sure that everyone meets their standard for continuous education by 2025 is the next cycle for that. And then lastly, Sheriff's going away. I'm going away the following week. We're going to be attending the National APCO conference, which is in Orlando. I'm taking myself, my operations manager, and one of our senior dispatchers down there for meet some of our technology people that we've been working with and see what other things we can find, and continuous education down there too. And that's all I have.
How did things go with the fire when we were trying to help Lincoln County out?
It was hard to get a hold of them originally when everything went down, as we were receiving a lot of 911 calls. So we just kind of made the decision. We worked with AMR. I worked with Matt Clark to just start providing the resources. And then I actually went up to them, Mescalero, to actually make contact with their dispatch and was, what's going on, guys? And then we finally got a hold of the Rio Doso director, Katie, and I went up there to make sure everything was okay. And we pretty much just told them they didn't have a response of what they wanted us to do. So we just pretty much made the decision of, we're taking your stuff over, we're gonna do this. It was about 2 days before they got everything back up and running for 911 capability. So we handled their 911s for about 2 days. And then we gave them our Starlink to provide them internet because they had no internet at all. So they had our Starlink for about a week. So they had internet in their 911 center and everything like that. But since then, I've been working with Zetron to merge our radio systems together. They use Zetron radio systems and we use Zetron radio systems. So we're gonna work on something where we have interoperability between the two centers because they are our backup center and we are their backup center. So they do take 911 calls for us and they're afraid to call us because if they're taking 911s, most likely they rolled over to them or our 911s are down. So we're gonna build an infrastructure between the two radio systems where we actually can talk via radio to them. But other than that, it's been good. They're flooding, since the fires are flooding, it's been bad and we actually been taking a lot of their 911 calls because we're still on old 911 systems. Cam trunks, which are copper wires to the ground, as soon as the floods come through, it takes out the 911 system. So until the EZNet services come into the state, which is still over a year out, we're gonna be dealing with that until they take away those copper wires, unfortunately, so. But that's kind of where we're at with them right now. So we are still kind of helping them back and forth, and I talk to Katie on a weekly basis to just see what she needs and what help she needs, and her staffing levels are getting better too, so she's doing well up there.
Well, I know the commissioners in Lincoln County are very appreciative of all the help, and I know the sheriff's office has been helping them, sending deputies up there, so it's appreciated.
Yeah, we have a good relationship with them up there, along with Mescalero. Lincoln County, we really haven't created the relationship, and unfortunately, when we reached out to them originally, they were giving us a lot of pushback on, we're here to help you, and no, we can handle it, Like, unfortunately, you guys are not handling it because your phones are ringing over to us because they're ringing for so long, so. That's why we just made the decision just to take everything over and take radios and stuff over, because we had the staffing levels to handle it at that time.
Good job.
That's all I got.
Nikki? Nope. All right.
Thank you,
Thanks, John.
Morning, Commissioners. Matt Clark, Emergency Services.
Morning.
For June, code enforcement had 18 solid waste cases, 1 illegal dumping, 2 vehicles, 2 open burns. We did fire inspections on 12 fireworks stands, getting prepared for 4th of July. The office, OES, responded and assisted or handled the calls on 31 fires and 4 EMS calls. We have 1 case in court. We completed 9 follow-ups, closed 7 of them. 21 Quail Trail, the case was dismissed by the judge. The individual was picked up on a warrant and given time served. So we are in the process of restarting that case. 1029 Mike Court was filed in court. The owner didn't show, so there's been a warrant issued for him for cleanup on his property. We've been at 17 Glen, sent them the violation letters, but we have since made contact with the owner there, and they are making efforts to clean up and cleaning up the easement. She's actually got someone that is going to be staying with her on property, and their whole job is to clean up the property. So that's just going to be ongoing, and we're going to monitor that. We're in the process of RFP for contractors to do removal of dilapidated structures. Once that happens, we're going to, we've got a few of them for them to start that process. Rose and First Street, we're going to be reopening those cases. We had our codes officer who was handling it is no longer with us, so we have to start that case all over because we don't think we'll be able to get him to go back to court if it gets to that point. 10 Thomas, we made notice and sent contact, and we're following up with that one as well. For June, the volunteers responded to 183 calls, 15 fires, one of them was a structure fire, 18 service calls, 43 good intent calls, 102 EMS calls. The volunteers assisted, as John Barney mentioned, with the Cherry Festival. They were up there on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday giving up their time for EMS in case something had happened up there. We assisted out at Holloman with the air show, the volunteers who were out there. It's a large event and possibilities of going wrong, so they reached out and asked if we could support them, and we were able to do that. During the air show, I sat out at their EOC as the rep for the local volunteers, and then we also brought in the healthcare coalition that the county belongs to in case something happened. We got healthcare coalitions there. Their job is the hospital portion of it. So air show went very well, and a lot of support from that. We assisted with the fires up in Lincoln County and Mescalero with the volunteer fire guys, and then with flooding, we moved a lot of did a lot up there with them, and continuing with the flooding. August we'll be out at the Heritage, Otero County Heritage Festival doing EMS standby. And I want to thank Jennifer for everything she's doing for our social media during the fires. She got a lot of that information out there for everyone so that they could stay informed, and I heard a lot of good things about the information that we were getting and getting it out to the public. And with that, I stand for any questions.
Is Jacob here?
Your incident has been updated.
No?
Your incident has been updated.
No.
Okay. I'm just asking about the Florida Street situation. What's the status on it?
Okay.
I don't know if,
I'll get with the city because I know that that one had got turned over to the city.
okay.
And I'll get back with you on that later today.
I think they were behind with some of their water bill or something.
Yeah, the city took that one over because they weren't paying their utilities.
Yeah.
And then if you, Matt, if you can kind of keep me in touch on that Bowles Acres deal, because that, even if it's once a week or something, that one's getting out of hand.
And I just want to thank all of our volunteer firefighters for all of their help. But these fires have been devastating for Otero County and especially for Lincoln County. I mean, our neighbors are suffering up there, and it's just been just heartbreaking to see what's going on with between the fires and the floods. It's just been beyond sad when you go up there and look around and see it'll never be the same.
No.
It's going to be years of recovery, so we've got to keep them in our prayers. And thank you to everybody that brought. I mean, we had tons. I can't even tell you how much stuff we loaded in those trailers to haul up there that day. We had people from El Paso and Las Cruces coming over, and I mean, I know Amy worked her tail feathers off on that. We were all out there loading those trucks, and Gerald had his truck out there and trailer and hauling stuff up, and it was a huge effort, but I know it was appreciated and needed, and they're going to need it for a while. So thank you to everybody.
Tractor Road, can you give me an update on that?
I'm sorry that I missed my
No.
thing, and I'll get back with you on that.
And at least if we can clear all of his garbage he has that is piled up to block that easement
Okay.
too. And then Canyon Road, that burned mobile home that's up there, has anything been done with that?
I will have to look.
Okay. And then going back to the fires, I know we're Gerald's fanny off for a full week. He was ready to go to the lake. But it was an honor to be able to support our volunteer firefighters. I mean, without the community support, it wouldn't have been possible, but to make sure we got all the supplies and everything in their hands and to get you guys fed, I mean, it was an absolute blessing. I was in tears so many times throughout the week being able to help, and you guys are amazing. And so I do thank you all for that. But some of the problems that we had, how many forklifts do we own in Otero County? Do we know that? 4 forklifts? Were they all being used during that week?
I have 2 forklifts.
Because I had to borrow one. Thank you, Rock Canyon Construction, for letting me borrow one to be able to move pallets of waters around or anything. I couldn't get it supplied by the county. Almost to the point where I was going to go get my own forklift and shut my own business down too, to be able to do that. So I think that needs to be addressed next time, to make sure that we have everything necessary to move that kind of stuff around. I shouldn't have to beg and borrow from local businesses, but thankfully we had them to do that. And some other things I really want to, I know that we have again postponed our rewriting our emergency plan. I think in light of this, I would like the emergency plan to include Lincoln County from here forward, since we are one and united in doing that. And we know that they're going to back us up, and we know that we're going to back them up. And I think it needs to be kind of a one county plan. We need to include management of services in there. Working on the ground, just the 2% that I did, it seems like there's a lot of copy and paste regulations from the Red Cross, which I want removed. And I also want to make sure that we ensure that when Red Cross and FEMA comes in, we are the boss, not them. And that way, all this dictatorship is kind of through our authority, because the Red Cross was pretty damaging in distribution of supplies to our firefighters and all of that, and we cannot allow that again. So, and the copy and paste of that I now have seen with their policies that are in our current emergency plan, that's got to go. So it's got to be original written. So just know I'm looking at that stuff, and I think we really need to put that emergency plan on our first and foremost to get that done, within the next 8-9 months.
One thing that, Matt, needs to be added to that too, every piece of equipment the county has that's going to go to any kind of a disaster like that needs to be inspected and certified through, if it's the Forest Service. I know we had a big clash with that. We went to help and were sent away. So we make sure we keep that on an annual deal where it's done every year, to where if it happens, that's not going to happen again. I know you've got a dozer. I know Tom's got dozers. I know we've got the dump truck, the low boys. Whatever it is that we have to have taken up there to use, they need to be inspected and certified through the Forest Service, so we don't have that episode again. Okay? And that's probably kind of your organization getting all that done. But
Yep, that's it. Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Porter, Otero County Road.
Good morning.
Just to elaborate a little bit more on the inspection of the equipment, I've been working with Forest Service, and we actually, as soon as things quiet down up there in Lincoln County, they're supposed to come down and inspect all the equipment for this year, and then they'll get in here next spring and get it inspected again before we get into any situations.
we come to find out that it's you always say, well, if it happens, this is a situation, it did happen. So from now on, let's stay prepared. And both of you, I appreciate everything all of y'all done. I'm really surprised that you came home from up there with that guy, but
I wasn't there. If that had happened, if I sent a crew up there, if I had been the one on the ground, I would have got somebody on the phone real quick.
Yeah.
And it would have taken care of it.
but I just don't want it to happen again.
Yeah, and it never should have happened. And they know who it was and it's been dealt with. Anyways, for the month of June. Prather, we've got it patched and ready to go for chip sealing between helping in Lincoln County and the flooding we've had here lately. We have not been able to get back up there to chip seal it. We're hoping, we're looking at about a 2-week dry spell. We should be able to get up there and get that finished for this year. As far as work we've done, besides the patching, we've done culvert repairs and replacement on Mirasol, Moondale, and Taylor Ranch Road. We hauled pit run to Upper Pennyasco and Chihuahua Road. We've patched throughout the basin and brush and mowing throughout the basin. Again, we did sign maintenance, we picked up the voting machines, we assisted with the mud cleanup on the Salt Fire and the South Fork Fire, and did our own flood control on EO 12.
One question the other night when out on Mountain Meadows and Rattlesnake and that flooding, was there any damage to the road there?
Sabinet sustained a little bit of downstream damage to that low water crossing. We've actually hauled on it all day yesterday. Rattlesnake, we hauled most of that over to Sabinet to fill in some of the hole because a lot of that came from upstream. Riata, we sent a blade out there just to kind of squeegee the mud off of it. That was one little cell that hit up above the tulies.
I see you guys had your graders out working, cleaning all the mud off of the roads already. I mean, every single day.
I've got equipment staged throughout the county just for this. We've got a blade up at Three Rivers that ran nonstop last week. We've got a loader up in Bent. When that one flows over, it hasn't done anything in Bent lately. We have the one that sits at the travel center if anybody happens to see our county blade sitting there. We have one at the La Luz Fire Station.
They're not gambling?
Huh?
They're not gambling?
No. So, yeah, we're staged throughout.
And then I think one flooding spot, which I think is the bottom of all of our areas, is Bonito and Lawley's Road. I received pictures of water standing on the road. And
Every time it hits up there by the water department, it comes right down that road. There's no stopping it.
oh, so I received a complaint. They want their culverts cleaned out. They
Again, they are responsible for their own driveway culverts, and that is 90% of what causes the problem in that neighborhood. Is the driveway culverts are plugged, or there are no driveway culverts. So. And for a 2-inch rain, you're not going to stop flooding.
Anything else?
I'm gonna say this, I probably shouldn't. Got a phone call last night, they asked me if they could send Vance down to the Mesa and give one-on-one blade lessons. And I'll leave it right there at that.
Vance is running nonstop right now. As a matter of fact, he's probably be working all weekend with the rain we're gonna have up in Cloud Croft again. So. It was either Bobby or Bevo, so.
Talked to Bebo yesterday. He didn't say anything about that.
How did Bent do?
We haven't had anything bad.
Okay, good.
Surprised that cell that hit us, actually, the day before it hit, I had actually driven Tule Dump Road all the way out to where we finished maintenance. And I figured it would have been gone yesterday. I drove back out there and it never even hit Tule Dump Road. So it literally hit right up above the Tules, right up above, excuse me, Mountain Meadows.
Great. Thank you.
Yep, all right.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, and Trent is not here. So we'll go to Nina.
Morning,
Morning.
Commissioners.
Good morning.
Nina Sisler, Correctional Service Director. Our average daily population for June was 194. Total population today, with the ones that have housed elsewhere, is 173. In-house, I have 133, and June 6th, they had that range, so I'm going to start at a staffing and time permit, start bringing people back. Because we had to relocate, or we would have been over capacity, so we'll start bringing them back. But I have presently 114 males, 19 females, 20 at Otero prison, 3 at Hudspeth. I have 5 on treatment for those, 2 out of county courts. I have 4 in Macon County for court as well. They have charges with our county and theirs as well. And then I have 6 juveniles in custody, 4 in Diana, 1 in Lee, and 1 in Burlingame. As far as the month of June, video courts, we had 50 municipal courts, 156 magistrate courts. District court, I had 107. Out of county video courts, I had 6. In-person courts, magistrate, we had 12. District, 4 in person. We had to pick up 3 people for court in Otero prison. As far as vacancies, I have 12 full-time detention officer vacancies, 1 part-time. I do have interviews tomorrow, and so keep my fingers crossed. As far as training, my training officer did conduct what we call non-security training for medical staff, kitchen, and any non-security staff in the facility. And he conducted 2 trainings, June 13th and the 27th. I did register and sign 2 corporals for first line supervisor class for Donna Abbey for July. I have 2 officers signed up for crisis intervention training for August. And I have 2 new people that are at orientation. Presently, they should complete today, and then they'll start doing on-the-job training. We did transport 10 males to Central New Mexico Correctional Facility in Los Lunas, New Mexico. 1 male to Southern New Mexico Correctional Facility, And we did transport 5 to treatment, 3 to Darren's Place, 1 to New Mexico Wellness and Rio Rancho, and 1 to Mountain Center.
Any questions?
No, I know that later on in our agenda, we're going to be looking at contracts for them, for other counties holding.
Juveniles, both the county increased on San Juan, and then the county requested
I've seen that. Yeah, and so that's juveniles only.
Juveniles.
Got it.
They put adult in the Lee County one, but it's actually 4 juveniles.
Okay.
So, because there's only 4 facilities in the state.
So why does it cost 3 times as much for a juvenile over a regular adult?
Because it costs a lot of money. They have to have a psychologist, psychiatrist, education, and they provide a lot of things that the adult facilities is quite different. And that's why it's so expensive to run a juvenile facility. And we used to have like 10 or 11 throughout the state of New Mexico. Because of staffing is more. They say they don't have beds. It's not the beds, it's staffing to get individuals to work in a juvenile facility.
Okay.
So most of it's staffing. It's not necessarily a bed. Of course, if the charges are severe, we have contacts and we work with juvenile probation to get these people released if it's something severe.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Caleb Finch. I'm
Good
the
morning.
District Fire Management Officer for the Forest Service, and I am representing Ronald Mason. Apologize, he was not able to make it. And I have about a half a dozen subjects I will present information on regarding the Sacramento Ranger District. Regarding forest plan revision, the decision is anticipated to be signed in 2025. Currently, the Forest Supervisor is reviewing the environmental impact statement. The biological assessment is at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, with a biological opinion expected in October. Once we have the BO, we can schedule the briefings with the regional office and the Washington office. When the Washington office is good with our briefing and our product, i.e. the plan and the EIS, we can then go into the objection period. Objections will be announced in the Alamo Board Daily News, the Federal Register, media announcements, and there will be a public meetings. The draft record of decision, otherwise known as the ROD, or ROD, will be available at that point, and if there are objections, we will go on to the resolution led by the regional forester. Following resolution of objections, the forest supervisor will sign the record of decision, and this may all be complete in the late spring of 2025, but it's an election year, and so there could be delays or pauses if the Washington office potentially transitions to a new administration. Regarding the Southern Sacramento Restoration Project, it is anticipated a decision is targeted in August of 2024, with potential opportunity to begin implementation in 2025. Regarding the Cloudcroft UI, or the Wildland Urban Interface Project, currently the wildlife surveys are complete for that 3,000-acre project. Body surveys are currently taking place. Heritage surveys will take place this winter. Those are going to be funded through an agreement that was just signed to the tune of $2.2 million, which will fund those surveys. That's an agreement that the Forest Service is going into with the National Forest Foundation, and that will also fund additional fuels-related fuels reduction projects in and around 16 Springs and what's called Denny, near the community of Weed. Moving forward in the 16 Springs landscape project regarding timber sales, the Beard West timber sale bid opening conducted on July 24th at the Sacramento Ranger District, and the Beard East timber sale. Timber markers continue to mark in preparation for facilitation this fall. Two more items. The Apache Pit gravel mine bid opening for a 10-year permit will occur on August 13th at the Sacramento Ranger District. And closing it out, update on fire restrictions is we are completely out of fire restrictions, currently in moderate fire danger, and if the rain continues, we may anticipate going into low fire danger, but we'll find that out here in the next couple of weeks. And I stand by for any additional questions.
I have one, RB, you might correct me if I'm wrong. Don't we have an agreement with the Forest Service that the county is supposed to review that before it goes to Washington or anywhere on the EIO or whatever they call it?
We've asked to be involved and get to do things like that, but we don't have a formal agreement. We're still negotiating. So, and they don't have to do that. It's all federal procedures.
Okay.
And I don't know if you can speak to this or not, because I know now it's in the courts, but I was just notified that the Center of Biological Diversity has sued the Forest Service. Do you know anything on that, about the gosses and the grazing? And
Yes, I have a small piece of information regarding the litigation with the Sacramento Allotment. We're in the process of responding of the notice of intent to sue to sue the Fish and Wildlife and the Forest Service from CBD, i.e. the Center for Biological Diversity. If you would like additional information on that, Ron just asked to reach out to him direct, and he can provide that more information.
I do. Got some big heartburn.
Yeah.
Beyond big heartburn. I mean, all they addressed is the cattle. If they want this frickin' mouse up there to have this forage that they want it to have, they're going to have to kill every deer, elk, and feral horse up there to make this work. They are just literally zoning in on the cattle. So I've got a big problem with that. So I will talk to him.
And I will let him know.
Because maybe we can join forces instead of us fighting with the Forest Service. Maybe the county can join with the Forest Service and start fighting who really needs to be fought. And it's these out-of-control environmental groups that are trying to tell us how to take care of our forest and run our lands and who can graze and who can't. Thank you. Anything?
You covered it.
You kind of caught the blunt of that,
Yeah, it's not
been going on
you.
for a long time.
I mean, I'm fired up about this. I can't even begin to tell you how mad I am, so
I've been a
thank
resident
you.
and employed since 2003, so we're well aware of it all.
Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you very much.
So at this time, before we go any farther, Pamela, can we move an item from new business agenda in front of the consent agenda?
Yes, there's a
We
disclaimer
have-
at the end of your agenda.
Before the
Okay.
fire marshal comes in and shuts this thing down?
Okay, yeah. Okay, we're going to move item number 27 up, and we'll discuss that now, so all these fine folks can not have to sit through all the rest of this if they don't want to. So number 27 is discuss and consider whether or not Otero County should consolidate Otero County volunteer fire departments.
Is Matt around?
Well, I can say while we're waiting, one of the reasons why I brought this on the agenda for discussion is because I have been attending the meetings and realized that the lack of volunteers that we have is devastating to our county, and that the state want to come take over because of our situation and all that. I have looked at other counties that have had this happen, and I know that last month on our agenda, there was a grant application so that we could employ our volunteers, but it was scheduled, and at 4 years, we'd be paying 100% of the payroll, which we know that we cannot afford at all. If we turn this into this one fire department for the county, or divide it into two, I think it's going to be devastating for our volunteers, because it will directly affect their para because of responses and areas that it will be divided into. So I'm glad you guys have filled the room so that you guys could give us feedback too, but that is a reason why my purpose is to stop the one fire department and to protect your guys' retirement accounts, and we'll just see what the discussion goes.
So I've talked to a few firemen on this deal, and I got to admit, when I first saw this I was against it. My reason was, and I didn't know how well everybody would come into one house and play together. I was afraid we might lose some. But after further talking with some, they kind of like me on a few items. Like number one is if one of the districts or one of the houses loses its ISO, the people in that district could lose their insurance. If you don't have insurance and you have a bank note on that, they could come and call the note in. I was kind of considering, at first I was thinking about if we could have three, but fire south, central, north. But then I got to thinking, would it be better to have two? Have like a 10th Street, the dividing line. My question is, how would we handle the mountain houses? There's a lot of questions, and I understand they have to keep this ISO deal. It must be a very important item, and we have to figure out how to keep that and make that work. I was also suggested in maybe trying to hire, if we consolidate, one chief and make Matt like the battalion chief, and let the chief take care of the firehouses and take that off of Matt's plate. There's a lot of suggestions like that. I mean, that's why I'm asking, they're here. Let's have comment from them. Let's talk about it. What needs to work to make it happen? Matt, you know the laws, the ins and outs, cans and don'ts. Fill us in. If this is a very important deal on losing their certification or something like that, or their ISO, whatever, we need to figure out how to make it work and to where we keep the county as our best. My interest, the residents of Otero County, is what I'm worried about, and I want to make sure they're taken care of. So what do we got to do to take care of them?
So as we've discussed before, the ISO is the insurance rating that by state statute, New Mexico funds all of the fire volunteers and paid fire departments across the state based on their ISO rating. A 1 being a outstanding rating, and a 10 meaning You have a firehouse, a couple people, maybe a fire truck, and that's about all that you do. And that's the worst rating that you can get. Every 5 years, ISO is supposed to come in and evaluate all of your fire departments. With COVID, it got pushed back, and we've been doing pre-ISO inspections with the State Fire Marshal's office on our departments that are in excess of 5 years since their last inspection. And getting with them, going through the inspections, showing them this is what you need to do to improve your ISO or stay the same. The thing that no one wants is to have that ISO slide back from a 4 to a 5 or a 4 to an 8. That's just, like Commissioner Matherly said, insurance gets involved, banks get involved, and it makes it a lot harder for homeowners. Insurance rates go up. The biggest problem that faces our nation today is volunteerism. It is not the way it was 20 years ago. It's not the way it was 10 years ago. It's hard to get people to come out and volunteer, and especially the training requirements that we ask the volunteers to do. They just don't want to spend that much time. ISO does realize that the 200 plus hours that is required for each member, in some areas it's not attainable, and you're scored based off of that. And on our side, we hope that they strive for that 200 hours, but reality is they have jobs. Some of them have 2 and 3 jobs. So that's why a lot of them are not volunteering. It takes 3 volunteers to equal 1 paid firefighter. ISO bases everything off of 1 firefighter. When we respond to a structure fire, that department has to have 4 people respond. Paid volunteers would have to have 12 because the 3 to 1. We have to have 2 people on the outside of the structure fire and 2 people on the inside of the structure fire for the NFPA's 2 in, 2 out. So having a roster of a minimum of 12 people on each department is where we are at. There are departments out there that do not meet that. Because of that, if they have a structure fire in their district and they come out, ISO goes, I want to see your last year's worth of structure fires. How many people responded? 1 person responded from my district. That's 0.5 for an average responders, below the number of 4. We can't count the auto aid departments for personnel unless they meet that minimum number of 4. By bringing departments together in a consolidation, and however it works out as far as districts, you change the number of personnel at your department, because now instead of 5 or 6 fire departments, it's 1. So every member counts, and it doesn't matter where the fire is then in that district. If we get, let's just say we take Ora Vista, Bulls Acres, Alma West, Dunnigan, and make them a fire department. And they have 5 people at Bulls Acres, 6 people at Alma West, and these are just made up numbers. I don't have their current roster. Both of those are under the number that need to be there. Right now, if Alma West responds 1 person, Bulls Acres responds 1 person, Ora Vista sends 6, the fires in Bulls Acres, it's not going to count for the Bulls Acres structure fire because they didn't have enough people. They had 1 person respond to that structure fire. Even though we met 8 people on scene, it wasn't enough from that district. You take those districts, put them together, now you had, your roster is 11, 18, I think is the number that I used there. In one district, the fire is still at the same location. Bulls Acres sends someone from their station, Alma West sends someone from their station, or Vista still sends that 7. That's 8 people from one department now that have responded, and we're meeting our ISO requirements. So it's changing, it's making the districts bigger, but it's changing because we have more people throughout all the districts, if that makes sense.
So what is it that, and I'm sure you've talked, what is it that the fire departments want to do? I mean, number one, they don't want to lose their ISO, for sure, I'm positive of that. So is it, the best thing is to consolidate some of these together?
It is, and there are some of them that when we finished the pre-ISO inspection, they looked at the state fire marshal's rep and said, can I start the consolidation today? And I asked them to hold off because any consolidation that happens has to come through the county commission, because the county commission by statute defines the fire districts. And I did not want to come to the county commission on June 1st saying, hey, these departments want to come together. 2 months later, hey, I wanted to try and bring as many as we could together at one time on the consolidation that want to do it, because there are departments that want to do it. That way I'm presenting it at one time instead of continually adding it to an agenda item.
I really feel if we do it, we need to do it throughout Otero County, not just 3 or 4 here, because we'll still have the same issues and problems at the other ones if they don't meet the requirement. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes,
So have other counties done this?
yes. The last, Eddy County just completed their ISO rating, and I have not heard back as to how well they did. Eddy County went to 1 fire department. It's the Eddy County Fire Department. Yes, they lost volunteers, but unfortunately fortunately they have the oil money and we're able to subsidize with a lot of paid staff. But they're using the volunteers that they have as recruitment tools. Train them, they go to all the fires with them, they get trained that way, and then when there's openings, they look to that volunteer pool first for job employment. Doñana County did this, I think it was 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Time flies when we're having fun. ISO came in and they were looking at closing or changing the ISO ratings on about 5 of their departments, if I remember. So they formed 3 districts, north, central, and south. And ISO came in and inspected them a year later. They did very well under those 3. Santa Fe County is in the process right now of taking all their volunteers to a Santa Fe County Fire Department. San Juan just got commission approval to go ahead and do the same thing combined. San Miguel has 1 fire department. McKinley County has 1 fire department. Valencia County is in the process of doing it if they haven't done it already. So it's a trend that is being done across the state and across the nation. Fire departments are coming together to work together and figure out how can we do this. It's not sustainable for departments that have low numbers of members. It isn't.
So how would you consolidate the mountain departments? How many do we have up there? 6?
Tiburon, Sunspot, Pinon, Sackweed, James Canyon, 16 Springs, Mayhill 7.
7.
And High Rolls is right there.
So would you put them as one house? Or how would you do that?
We could put the mountains as one house, one big district. Absolutely.
So then if there's an accident on Highway 82, and with that being one district, and say it's at milepost 35,
Okay.
okay, and Tiburon doesn't respond because that's considered that fire department, then that affects Tiburon's para because of 50%, they're required 50% of responses to that department to be eligible for para.
You can, in that case, could Tiburon respond to that? Absolutely. Are they going to? Most likely not, just because of the distance that it's going to take. And the mountains becomes challenging. But they would still be eligible for their para because you can still assign it by stations. And you can say, these stations are going to respond versus Tiburon, you have to go to mile marker 35 for this car accident. You just change it to whatever the station identifiers are. In this case, if it's still Mayhill, James Canyon respond to mile marker 35 for this car accident.
And that would still be the mountain district?
It would still be in the mountain district. They would be the ones that are responsible to respond to that call. They're still going to get their para, they're still eligible for para. It just becomes potentially, with a large district like that, challenging, but they're still eligible for para.
So what's the downside? Why do people not want to do it?
One is status quo. I don't want to change. It's my department. I've been with this department for X years. I founded this department. It's my department. You're not going to tell me what to do. You're not going to tell me how to run things. You're not going to, and it comes down to that ego. Instead of looking at what is best for the citizens and the residents of Otero County and the visitors that we get, they let their egos get in the way.
So it's not really going to affect their para?
It's not going to affect their para. And on the ISO, it could actually improve that station's ISO rating as they join forces, because now you have more people to respond, you have more training, but it could, at the end of the day, help out and it could improve their ISO.
Technically, you correct me if I'm wrong, when you have a call somewhere, say there's a call on Diablo Lane down there, you have Bulls Acres Fire Department come, or Vista Fire Department come, probably Alamo West come. That right there tells me you're a consolidated house, you're working together, you're coming together. So I don't see a problem with doing this consolidation because you guys all work together anyway.
Most of them do already. What it comes down to where they don't mind working together, some of them it comes down to because the chief is responsible for the department and the chief doesn't want to let go of that. And unfortunately, that's that ego end of it. The other benefit that comes with this is now you've changed the district size. You redeploy your assets that you have based off of what you need. So now instead of buying Or Vista, Alamo West, Bulls Acres, all buy a brand new tender this year, maybe it's not needed because we can take a tender from this station and move it over here. And we can reduce going out for loans, we can move the vehicles around as we need for our deployment scheme.
States by turning it into this, and it's going to be more state-run than county-run. The individual county fire departments, they know their districts and they know their areas, and this is gonna take away their ability to make decisions. Pressure that we've applied to Bent, I see their volunteer firefighters down even in Tularosa helping now, when before they didn't have any volunteers. We fixed the insurance ratings of our constituents. Obviously, we want the best insurance ratings and to make sure that this is structured correctly, but we want the best coverage. And I think this will lead into having employed volunteers, and we cannot afford to employ them. We can't even afford to give raises where raises are needed for the current employment, and we're going to bring on 19 chiefs or to oversee fire department. I don't know what this is going to lead into. I just know Eddy County led into 100% payroll, and they can afford it, and we cannot. And that is 4 years from now, if we decide to do it that way. And unless the volunteers convince me that this is a grand idea, I'm gonna stand strong and say no.
Well, it is not a state mandate. It's just, that's what's happening across the state because the departments are seeing decline in numbers. And without the numbers, your insurance ratings are going to change. And it's not hiring people, it's just asking the current volunteers to work together. And depending on how everything gets districted, having the chief that's there understand the responsibility has increased. Instead of one small district, now he has a larger district. And his assistant chief. Having the trainer that I asked for is going to help because we can standardize training across all of the departments. And it'll take some of the load off of the volunteers that way. That's a lot of time and energy to set up the training. But
Amy, one thing we gotta think of is the citizens of Otero County. And if they lose the ISO, what is it gonna do to them? It's gonna increase their insurance, if they can even get insurance. So that's one of the big deals. My main concern is the citizens, the best thing for them. If we have to hire a couple, I'm not saying hire 20 firemen, there's no way we can afford that, but if we have to hire a couple, if I understood you right, that's 4 volunteers? 1 paid, 1, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to get the numbers up on the count.
3 volunteers equal 1 paid firefighter.
Okay, so that's 6 volunteers on the ISO rating, correct?
Correct.
So I'm not saying hire them, but what I'm saying is we've got to figure out what's going to work the best. And what I would really like to hear is from some of these guys sitting out here in these blue shirts.
Definitely.
If whoever would like to come up.
Morning, Commission. Deputy Chief Lois Fire. So, with us in La Luz, we're lucky enough to have a pretty good roster. So, we're reaching out and helping the departments that don't have enough. To touch on Jackrabbit and Bent, they do have a few responders now, but nowhere close to what they need. In the month of June, La Luz has ran and answered 91 calls for service. That is almost a third of the calls that we did last year in total. We're already doing this job. We're already pretty much consolidated. We're working together. We know each other's departments already because we have to run together so much. I don't know on the paid stuff. I'm not looking to try to get paid people into our departments. I think, and I speak only for myself in La Luz, I think that this can be done by these departments consolidating and working together and not having to go paid. I think we can make this happen with ourselves. the job's already being done, but it's not being counted because they don't have enough people. We may not have enough people on the same call. We can't, eventually this is gonna have to be done. If we can start now without trying to go paid and look at that later on. I think this is something that needs to really happen because people are calling 911. They expect somebody to, then it goes to a third page with the mutual aid department. We can avoid all of that, get our response times better with one page for that district. Let's consolidate them. Let's get one page done. Let's get responders to that place as soon as we possibly can. I don't necessarily think that paid should even be considered right now. I think we can do the job joining forces together.
Would
I mean,
this make dispatch easier if we consolidated some of these? Would that kind of help with some, I know that we have some problems with the
Right,
the
and
calls.
most of these departments now, we have already went and did that. Like La Luz and Bent, when an EMS page goes out, they get paged together because they don't have people to respond. So we're gonna go mutual aid and help them. So we've signed that agreement to get paged out at the same time. Alamo West, Oro Vista, Bulls Acres, they did the exact same thing. Trying to get that response time faster. But we don't have that with every department. We don't have that agreement with Jackrabbit. We don't have that agreement with Dunnigan or Burl Flats. You know, this would join in more departments with more responders with a faster response time, without affecting really anything besides the command staff, which is still going to have to, if you consolidate these, you're still going to have to come in. The members of that department are still going to have to vote on who they want as their chief for that district. It's not like one district can come in and just take it over. We have to go in and collectively as a congregation decide who's going to lead this department. So there's a lot that I think benefit us more to do this than not. Especially the citizens of Otero County, I think benefit the most out of something like this happening.
Thank you. Who's next?
I'm Scott Poovey, I'm the chief of Bulls Acres. We combined almost 6 years ago, Alamo West, Bulls Acres, and Oro Vista. I did it myself. I went to, when Vince was chief, Brandon's chief of Oro Vista, I called a meeting and said, guys, we're short during the daytime. They paged me, I don't have anybody, people are working, I have guys that work for AMR and stuff like that. I said, then they gotta wait. They page Oro Vista, then they page Alamo West. We combined, went to Matt and said, hey, we want one page. So almost 6 years ago, we combined our three departments. It's still Alamo West, Bulls Acres, Oro Vista. But the page goes off, it's Alamo West tones, our tones, Oro Vistas, and they let us know what's going on. During the daytime, some days I have 2 people in district, everybody else is working. Other days I have 3 or 4. Same thing with Alamo West or Oro Vista. So if I have a structure fire, my guys are answering up, they're automatically coming. They're not putting out a mutual aid page or anything like that. It's one page goes out and we all roll. If I don't need them, if they say I got a fire and I roll up and somebody's burning trash, I cancel the guys so they stay in district. So it's a way to help each other, but then you limit where your manpower has to go, because if something happens, if I don't need them, I cancel them. I say, hey guys, we got this handled, stay in your district, cover your districts. They do the same thing for me. If Josh gets a call over there and they get on the scene and they go, hey, it's nothing, we got it guys, I got 4 guys here, I got the waters, I got the trucks, we got it handled, no problem. If they do need help, Oro Vista's a little closer, they'll tell Oro Vista to keep rolling, Bulls, stay in district, cover your area. So this is something we've been doing for almost, like I said, over 5 years now we've been doing this, and we've worked the bugs out. The 3 of us want to combine for our ISO because during the daytime, we're all short. And in the evenings, yeah, we do have people, but during the daytime, we are short-handed. And ISO comes in, we're all rated number 4. We're all ISO 4s. all three of us, it could turn around and hurt us because of what's not showing up during the daytimes. Like I said, we've been doing this for 5 years now, almost 6. And it's something that I did between the three, and Vince at the time and Brandon at the time looked at it and said, yeah, you're right, we need to help each other out. And we went to Matt and said, this is what we want. And we got with Barney, and he said, sure. They hit one button, and all three of us get called at one time. And it's saved a lot of issues. It has helped us all out. And like I said, I get on scene, Josh gets on scene, Brandon gets on scene, or one of our officers, and we see we don't need all the help, we just turn around and say, hey guys, you can stand down.
And even though you've joined forces like that, even though, since it's not actually legitimately done, you still don't get counted as your ISO, I mean, from your each individual.
We
It's
don't-
not
yeah,
combining.
it doesn't count, it's still the same ISO, so if I have 2 people show up, I don't have the 4 I need.
Right.
But that's why we want to combine, and we want, if Dunnigan wants to come in with us, we'll bring Dunnigan, because they are part of my mutual aid. Right now, we have what's called a mutual aid agreement, so it basically stands out for just structure fires. But we've combined, the 3 of us combined, to help out. So Josh gets a call out on Highway 70. Brandon and I are rolling units. We've got a mutual aid agreement that if they've got a big grass fire out there, they got a tractor trailer. We're rolling water tenders to them to supply them water, and we're bringing people with us. Same thing in my district. I mean, I cover 54 all the way down to mile marker 15, where Judy over here from far south rolls in and everything. There's times we roll all the way down when Judy can't get help down there in far south. We roll all the way down there. It's a 45-minute drive for us, but we know what we're taking down to help her out. So it's combining everybody out. I mean, everybody's sitting there going, yeah, I want to toot my whistle. But with the 3 of us, we have a community to help out. We're trying to help our community and save our ISO ratings.
Well, I understand, and that's very important, and with the way insurance is going right now and canceling everybody as fast as they can, we've got to fight back as hard against that as we can. Because I know some of the people in Ruidoso were so thankful their house didn't burn, and then their house got flooded, so guess what? They have no coverage now because they didn't have flood insurance. They said would have been better off had it burned to the ground. So we've got to do everything that we can to kind of offset some of these new things that the insurance companies are trying to do. And I know they're overwhelmed with all these natural disasters we've had, but we've got to take care of our citizens too.
And that's what we stepped up and did between the 3 of us right here, is we went together and said, and we discussed it. We had a good probably 4 or 5 hour meeting between the chiefs and the assistant chiefs and said that, and we did the pros and cons, and we finally all together said, looked at Vince and said, you got a problem with it? He said, no. Josh was there, some of their officers there, my officers were there, Brandon's on, and we all sit down and discuss it, are we gonna, and it's no, it's, if there's a fire in their district, they're in charge, we come in, we help out, we do what we gotta, and we've been doing it, like I said, almost 6 years now. It's close to 6 years we've been running as a group. And I wish Barney hadn't left, because he could tell you, he hits the button.
Oh, there he is. That's who I was looking for.
Has it not worked out
No,
for you?
it actually speeds up the process for response times for us. We ran into a lot of issues when we're toning out some of the volunteer agencies where we don't have the manpower, some of the volunteers are here, and I'm not gonna throw them under the bus, but, I'll just be Bent, for an example. Bent, we had issues, and I got with Matt and I said, how can we resolve this issue so we get people there quicker? And that's where we started immediately. Now we're paging out Bent and La Luz. Same thing with Jackrabbit. Bent and Jackrabbit exactly at the same time. We need to find a way to speed up the process for the citizens. With what's going on in the county, we don't want calls to hold for more than 30 minutes. And unfortunately, we had a call this morning that held for about 30 minutes with a elderly female, chest pains and difficulty breathing. And they literally paged out every single volunteer and the whole flat before we can get something, because AMR was an overload. So that's kind of one of the things we need to look at, as how can we get responders there quicker with one push of a button instead of paging out, waiting 5 minutes, sending out the second alert. Now they're not getting, now going to the next agency or the next district. If we can merge these together, just like how Allen West, Ora Vista, and Bulls Acre is doing, one time, they all get the page, they all go, no matter where it's in, what district it is, but they always have responders. The call this morning, the rollover down in, on mile marker 38, one page, you had Bulls Acres going, you had Florida Vista units responding, Allen West started to come up. You had the resources coming, and they don't know what's going on scene. It could be something very minor to where it's 2 vehicles on fire where we've had it. So that's what I look at as the 911 centers, from the call to time it's coming in, getting the people on scene as quick as we can, because it hurts us when the person's calling back on, where's my ambulance, where's my fire truck, my house is still on fire, where are they, we need them now. And then we take the brunt of it as my dispatchers, and it doesn't help on the mental health aspect of them, because we want to help them, but we can't, we're stuck in a chair handling the 911s for Otero County.
So how does it look on a management aspect? With you guys already joining, it already works, and you're still overseeing each other's departments, and each one of you contribute equally. And I see that myself on the scenes. But let's say on the north side of town, La Luz, which is one of the best in the district, in my district, is responding to Bent, and Bent isn't responding, and it turns into La Luz is picking up the slack for Jackrabbit and Bent all the time. Then why would somebody want to volunteer for Bent and Jackrabbit? Why would somebody want to join in and just not go straight to La Luz? And then what does that look like? What management of something like that?
Well, for that, well, I mean, you look where the people live. Like for us, I have people that want to come in, and I'm like, where do you live? And the 3 of us, we're all like, you know, if you're here, I mean, I have some people in Dog Canyon that actually are with Ora Vista, okay? But it's how close you can be. I mean, if somebody's in the Bent area over here, and La Luz being over here, it'd be better if they say, hey, we're combining, we're training together, but I need you to respond to this station. You'll be trained on how to operate the equipment so you can help bring equipment to the fire. Because our biggest issue is water in this area, okay? All my mutual aid departments have at least 2 tenders. And everybody knows if I have a fire in Bulls Acres, I want water. So they're gonna be rolling a tender with 2 people in them, and then possibly a brush truck with 4 guys in them. Or they're gonna bring a command unit with 3 or 4 people in them. Same thing for I have 4 tenders, actually I have 5. I have 1 down south, I have 2 at each of my stations, 1 in Dog, 1 in Bulls Acres. They know from me if there's a fire, I'm rolling 4 water tenders out to them. So we have a mutual aid agreement between all of us. If there's a fire here, what do you want? And we've all sat down and discussed, you're coming to me, I want water and personnel. I mean, I've even gone all the way to La Luz when they've had the big fires out in La Luz. Bill will put out the dispatch, hey, call Bulls Acres, I want water tenders. So my guys all know when they call and they say water tenders, we're rolling water tenders. So we help all the way out to there. And Bill's come all the way down to help us when we've been shorthanded our way with some big fires. You know, so the whole area helps each other out. I mean, and the thing is if they're shorthanded north, we come from the south. And we do it all the time. They do the same thing for us. So everybody not wanting to join it, yeah, there is people there that it's my department, it's my area, it's my thing. But the biggest thing is it needs to be is we are Otero County. We're here for our community. And if it's gonna take this to help everybody out with ISO and stuff like that, it needs to be done. I mean, and to save people's insurance and everything else, to save some money for the people.
And what does it look like for the departments that don't hear the tone all the time? Because that problem isn't fixed too.
That's something that Barney and the guys are working on. 'Cause we do talk to them when it happens. Like, I mean, there's times it happens. And I mean, we had a call this morning. I didn't hear it. My tones didn't go off. I did not hear we had a call. So I didn't make the call this morning. I got up and I turned on my radio, and all of a sudden, because I have a pager that sits by my bed, my pager didn't go off. I got up this morning, turned on the radio, and I heard one of my officers talking. He was leaving mile marker, what were you on, Patrick? 31. 31. He was rolling, canceling there with an engine. He was leaving scene.
But still, if we have, let's say, Jackrabbit, Bent, La Luz joined together. La Luz, we know, meets their rating. And Jackrabbit and Bent do not. It's gonna bring down that district's rating because of the two that aren't performing. And then La Luz is gonna say, man, we're doing all the work, we're carrying the load. It's still no oversight over the failing departments, trying to get them to where they need to be.
When you bringing them together to combine, it is now a district. It's not La Luz district, it's not Jackrabbit Flats district, it's not Bend district. It's North District. That is the new name of the fire department. So all three of them bring their current ISO rating to the table for a year. During that year, they start training together, responding together officially as one department, working together, moving their assets around to better the response that's needed for that district. So it is no longer Jackrabbit bringing a 6 to the table and Bent a 6 to the table. It's one department, and a year from that joining, ISO will come in and say, okay, now you guys have a year to work together. Let's inspect you, let's see how it's changed. And then that district gets a new rating. And all the stations that are assigned in that district is the funding that will come in. So currently if you look at Bend, La Luz, and Jackrabbit, there's 5 main stations. They'll bring in, if they stay ISO class 4, we've now changed the residents in those communities to an ISO class 4 instead of the 6, so we've helped them out. But they will be funded as an ISO class 4 department with 5 main stations. So we could be potentially increasing some of the funding. If it goes to a 5 or a 6 overall, that's what that department is, and now we know what we need to work on to increase it. I don't see that happening. When Bulls Acres took over Oro Grande's district area helped get Bulls Acres a better rating overall because they have a really good water system down there.
Because they had hydrants, they were able to get a 4. My only problem now is in Oro Grande, I have nobody down there. I have nobody down there that wants to volunteer. So we use that as a cutoff station that if there's something down south, I have a car wreck south of Oro Grande, we run command units down there, we grab the trucks, we go that way. If Judy needs help, I roll equipment out of Oro Grande. I roll an engine, I roll water tender out of there to run to Judy to help far south. Because my district alone is equal to 463 square miles, counting out in the desert and everything else. What ISO considers my district is that many miles. Alamo West has the same thing. They've got a huge district with where they have to cover out to and everything. So we're doing what we can, but by what we did, we've improved ourselves so much because we've always got a group of people showing up for anything. Like I said, if we get there and we don't need people, we cancel them. Stay in your district, cover the district, we got this down here. And that's how it helps out. You know you've got aid coming to you, but then if you get there and you see you don't need it, you say, hey man, I don't need you guys, stay in your district, cover your district. And that's what we all do. I mean, Oro Vista does it, if they've got calls where, hey, we got a grass fire. They get there and go, it's nothing, man, we got it with a brush truck, you guys stay in your areas. So it works out that everybody works together. We all train together and stuff. The chiefs run the departments, we take care of our stuff, we do what we gotta do, we keep our equipment up and running, we do our trainings, we get together mutually trainings every 3 to 4 months, we get together and have a Saturday about 4 or 5 hour training with everybody. We mix our departments together, but we've been doing it now, like I said, almost 6 years. So we all know each other. our three departments know each other very well. We know who the ones do what in the department. You fight fire, you operate trucks. So we've got a good cohesion between everybody. We work really good together. You know, our officers all know each other. So we get on scene, if it's a fire in Josh's district, I show up, my officers show up, it's like, what do you need, man? I need you to take care of water. Hey, I need you to be safe, you on the backside of this fire. We're doing it. So, but we want to do what Matt's asking for, because we're the three, we went to Matt and said, we want to combine. So we're the three pushing part of this, is we want to combine our three departments because of ISO to help each other out. Because it's right now, it's gonna hurt all of us if they come in. Yeah, they come in, do an inspection, they're gonna go, yeah, you're good, but you didn't have this many people, you didn't have this many people, you didn't have this many people. Because like Matt said, the kids today don't wanna do this. I've had guys ask me, I've been doing this now, I think 18 years. I had people ask me, why do you do it? I said, I'm doing it for my community. And when I started, I didn't know anything. My wife calls this my mistress, because I spent so many hours with this, is what my wife calls this.
Yeah. I think, can we hear from some mountain folks?
Good morning, I'm Tony McWilliams, I'm the fire chief of Tiburon. I'm still wrapping my head around a lot of this. Matt and I have talked off and on, the other stations and other districts we've talked to some of those. I think the mountains do pose a little bit more of a logistical issue. For example, Tiburon, if I am going to drive any kind of vehicle, including a pickup, from Tiburon to Mayhill, it takes an hour and a half. My parents live there. There's no way to get there faster than that in a pickup, and it's even slower than that. So the mountains do add some different criteria problems to it, I think. But I think there are opportunities in the mountains that we do need to combine. For instance, and I know we're just talking about this yesterday or the day before yesterday, I don't remember which day it was, but my neighbors are Sunspot and Pinion, and their departments barely existing. I am very lucky. Less than a year ago, I was down to 8 members in Tiburon, and when these subjects came up, and I went back to Tiburon, and I didn't do anything except just mention it a few times in the community that if we don't get more volunteers, we could stand to lose our ISO and lose our fire department. In the next meeting, there was 35 people showed up, and I actually now have in training and coming along 23 members of Tiburon. But that doesn't happen to everybody. That's not going to happen in Sunspot. It's probably not going to happen in Pinion. There's just not that many people left in some of those. Tiburon has been on the growth pattern since COVID. I have an estimated 1,200 people that live there now, when we used to have 300. So we have to do this very logical, I think. I think it's going to take a lot of work from OES with the current fire chiefs, figuring out what makes the most logical sense, what makes the most financial sense for the departments, what makes the most sense for those residents. Because ISO, so Tiburon got several years ago 7/9 rating. That was a very big improvement for us. That only helps insurance rates within 1 mile of that station. Everybody else is still a 9. And the reality is, I hear from people all the time, they buy property within that mile, in there where they should be getting 7, the insurance company won't give it to them anyway. And the fires in the mountains is really a problem. Fires in Mendoza just made it worse. I don't care what your ISO rating is. If you live in one of these mountain communities that's rated high to extreme, they're just pulling out, leaving you hanging. And I know you've heard those stories. So it is important to us from a funding standpoint, but I don't think ISO in the mountains is our biggest problem from a fire standpoint. I think this whole wildfire risk is, and we need to be able to logically lay out the mountains where if we're going to combine and help each other, where it makes sense. But it doesn't make sense for me to go help on an initial attack kind of thing. It just takes me too long to get there. Likewise, it takes too long for them to get to me. They have the same track. Sackweed, decent timing. Sunspot, Pinon, decent timing for me. And we have to, between that, we have to cover to the state line on Otero Mesa. Now, there's not a lot out there, but when there is something out there, it drains Pinon, and it somewhat drains me, depending on what the incident is. So, any questions for me?
Do you have any, are you supportive or not supportive?
It should be the current chiefs that discuss this with OES and go, this makes sense, and we can sit across the table from each other and agree or disagree. I'm all about redistricting and making sure that we cover Sunspot and Pinon. Reality is, I'm already responding when they have incidents, and I'm not getting any funding for that, and we don't do it for that, guaranteed. But we need to cover those individuals and those homeowners. Honestly, there's only like 2 houses between Timron and Sunspot, but there's a lot of infrastructure, Sunspot, and it's not just structure fires, it's wildland fires, car accidents, natural disasters, or whatever. So I'm in support with when it makes sense.
So let's say that district is those 3 departments, and you're the only one that ever responds in all those areas, and Pinon says, we need a new fire truck. Where does that funding go?
If they became a district, the funding goes to the new district, call it the Mountain District, and the chief that is in charge of the Mountain District at the time would, where do I need the asset? It's not Pinon needing it anymore, it's I need one for the Mountain Department. And if there's one sitting at another station, maybe it's just simply moving that one over instead of buying another one. But if it is buying another one, that's what it is. And instead of Pinon having $70,000, I think a year is what they get, maybe now that Mountain Department is pulling in, let's see, they have 1, 2, 3, they've got 4 in a substation. So they'd be getting whatever their ISO rating is for 4 stations, and maybe instead of going out for an NMFA loan, they just go out and pay for it.
And so let's say those 3 departments agree to merge, and they're gonna elect one chief for all 3 departments. So then that chief is then gonna be Mr. Miller, let's say, you got elected. So now you're overseeing all 3 departments, making sure all 3 departments receive their training, doing all the vehicle trainings.
But it's not 3 departments now, it's 1 department.
So all the records will be kept in one place?
Yes.
So they're not seen as 3 different locations? So those
They
departments?
are locations. They are different locations, but they're still one department. They're just they're funded as main station, correct?
Yes.
But they are actually like a substation. It would be no difference than the stations, the city of Alamogordo on the north side and the south side. Those are one department, but those are just different stations, same thing.
Are we putting too much on that one volunteer to manage all those fire departments?
In the case that we're talking about, it doesn't really add, it adds 6 people to my management. There's 3 in Pinon and 3 in Timron, in Sunspot. Other departments could. That's why I really think it needs to go department by departments where it makes sense, where they're agreeable and where they're not. If you mandate them, my opinion is if this gets mandated from the county to everybody, some of your volunteers may hang it up and walk, and they would not if they had a say. I won't be walking, but I can see it happening in other departments. And I think you would agree with that.
And I don't really see making Otero County one department. I would like to see, like what you just said right there, you've got 3 districts, bring them together, they work together, one department, keep their ISO up, keep everybody safe, keep the insurance for whatever that's worth, but the same as what Alamo West and Ora Vista and Bowles Acres do, that could be, maybe there's 4 districts in Otero County, maybe there's 5 instead of 19, or whatever there is. Consolidate them into the right area where everybody's, whatever's gonna be the best for the people, the residents here, and what's gonna work the best. That's the main thing right there. It's what I see.
Sounds to me like you guys all need to get together and work out what works best for you guys, what districts, where they are, who they include, and then bring us a plan.
I do want to see a plan. I want to see the management aspect, to the chief aspect of management, all the way down. And what is the difference now? What is the difference, what we're going to be deciding on versus what is happening now? Because it sounds like, and I see it, other fire departments are in other districts. So why is it not working now if other departments are sharing the responsibilities across?
Because it doesn't count for their ISO rating, because they're still counted as separate departments. They have to be united to count all those bodies for one rating.
Right, but.
So that's where it helps.
What would be the incentive? I think what we're losing is the incentive to recruit volunteers. So what would be the incentive to go volunteer in Bent when I can just go to La Luz? Or, I understand I live in Bent, but, you know, it has more work.
Can I address that?
Yes.
My name's Kimberly Wharf. I'm an EMS captain for Bowles Acres and a firefighter. I'm 62 years old.
Would you sit down at the mic, please?
I'm old and I'm tired. So if you look around at this group of people, how many people do you see over the age of 50? There is no incentive in being a volunteer other than the personal value it brings to you. My husband is the assistant chief of Bowles Acres, and we call it date night. Because the kids don't go. And so we get a little time with other adults. We do it because it's the right thing to do, because we live 9 miles outside of town, and I want to know if somebody's coming. And I'd like to make sure I know that person. So to the point everybody's been making, I think one of the things that people don't take into consideration is our age, and we're getting tired, and we get called all hours of the day and night. You got to drop what you're doing, leave your holiday, leave your family, and it affects you mentally. And so I think there's a lot of factors that go into this. So in Bowles Acres, we know we can count on Ora Vista. Far south, if we need to, they come. Dunnigan, sometimes whoever, if it's a big enough thing, we all go. Doesn't matter what we're doing. And the fact of organization, having been in nursing leadership for over 14 years, we're already held to federal and state standards. It isn't about what the county feels like doing for fire. We're held to standards, not only for our own personal safety, but for property. And the big thing for me at the end of the day is we go home safe. That's rule one. That's rule one for everybody in here that fights fire. EMS, doesn't matter if you're wildland, forest fire, or you're Smoky Joe sitting there for coffee. We go home first, which means we have to be trained. It has to be standardized. You need more than one person deciding what's going to happen because we're held to those standards. So for me, having worked for DPS back in 1902, when we did it all, it makes sense to me. It makes sense in a lot of different ways. I hear the comments about egos, which is very true, because especially if you have life experience, personal experience, work experience, there's a way you want to see it run. If you're a military background, that's what you're comfortable with. If you think on the fly, that's what you're comfortable with. If you've learned from somebody else how to do it right, how to do it wrong, that's what you're comfortable with. So for me personally, I want to get home safe. I want my husband to get home safe. I want our newest trainee, Colton, to make it home to his family. And I think we need to have some organization and consolidation, such as Matt and the OES team are proposing, because quite frankly, PERA, after 10 years of volunteering, and I'm at 12 volunteer, 5 paid, I'm going to bring home $87 a month until I die. If I don't apply for retirement, because if I retire with my 10, I can get that $87 a month, which quite frankly helps towards the propane bill, but When I hit 25, which is when I get my next increment, that's $250 minus 30%, just like the 125 for 10, for the rest of my life, for doing something for free. I'm gonna get great t-shirts, get to drive great trucks, I get to go a little bit fast with red lights on occasion, but that's it. So for me, the PERA is nice, but that's not why I do it. And having worked in a public safety organization, my PERA follows me wherever I go. So I think consolidation allows for us not to burn out, not to flame out, because the tones drop all the time. We also support the city EMS with transportation, or if the ambulances are all tied up, your EMTs go too. And that takes 2 people. I got to drive, Matt's got to do the patient in the back. And so that adds to the burden on fire services. So I respect everybody's jobs, their opinions. Thank you for being here today. But for me, the vote is to consolidate into districts, have appropriate number of paid staff to organize that. Your chief, your training officer, which I would think would take more than 1 because we have 16 county departments. And to hold us all to a performance standard. Because if somebody drives the water truck, getting to the tender, you want to make sure they not only drive it to the scene, they do it correctly, can follow instructions, and also know how to operate that pumper truck instead of pulling somebody off scene to run water for them. And we need those kind of advantages that an organized department can have. I think we should follow along with that. That's for me, because I want to make it home at night and have enough help when I go on a fire or rollover. Thank you.
We want you to make it home at night too.
So is there anybody opposed?
I would like to address your concern on policies and procedures. My name is Bill Farmer. I'm with Lubbock Fire Department, with the fire chief. Earlier you mentioned policies and procedures and stuff changing. As these departments consolidate into one, I can speak for La Luz and Bent and Jackrabbit, right? We have standard operating procedures in place. We have those in place as La Luz. Jackrabbit has their own, right? As we consolidate into that, all of those are going to have to change. Some of them may change a lot, some of them may not change at all, right? Those are all written on best operating practices, the guidelines that we are held to, NFPA, best practices, right? So former administrations from Jackrabbit, from way back in the day, wrote those policies and procedures for them, and they match pretty closely to what we have, right? Bent has the same type of policies and procedures. When we combine those, I don't think that they're going to change dramatically. The stuff that's going to change is logistical. Like we have a policy and procedure for which vehicle rolls out on a structure fire first out. We have a policy for which vehicle rolls out on a brush fire first out, right? That is obviously going to change because now instead of having one station with 12 apparatus, now we have 4 stations with, however many patrols. That's a lot. So some of that stuff is going to have to change. Firemen historically are not humongous fans of change, right? But some of that stuff will change. Some of it will change for the better, some of it will change for the worse, but all of that is going to change. So I think that the policies and procedures, as we get into the consolidation, is something that we're going to have to look at almost immediately as we get the new administrations into the departments, right? Also, La Luz, when I first joined La Luz, which was not that long ago, I've been doing this a long time, however, not long with La Luz, right? When I joined La Luz was on the decline. La Luz was one of the places that was absolutely in danger of getting closed. I think there was like 5 members or 6 members one meeting when I joined. Through my predecessor and through a lot of hard work between our department now, we've built it up to a fairly strong department. So during that process, I've learned that it is easier to recruit when you are training and you're doing your job and you're a well-established department than it is to build up from scratch. When you have 3 guys sitting around in a meeting, it is hard to attract new members. To address your comment about what is the incentive to volunteer at Bent, the people that are coming into Bent now are coming in going, we have to build this station, right? So Josie works very hard at that. The members that they have up there are working hard to build the department. but that is a long road to hoe, very, very much. So I think with the consolidation, one of the things that will help us is as we come into those departments and we are training together, and when a new prospective member walks in, it's not three dudes sitting around drinking coffee talking about the old days, right? It's 20 guys sitting around the table actually training on what we are doing and actually being proficient and actually becoming competent in our job, right? Because that's what the public demands of us. That's kind of my take on it. I think the recruiting will get easier because it will be a more established team. That's just kind of the way I see it on that. So yes, I absolutely support it.
Okay, thank you.
So Matt,
Speak on the
if I was to ask you, could you have a proposal put together for next month's meeting? Could you do that? It sounds like you guys already kind of got this planned out anyway to me, but.
The 8th is the next meeting.
It's a little bit.
Yeah, we got a
too
short
close
time this time.
Because of July's meeting being so late.
So,
But,
so when is
September's
the ISO deal that's gonna come into effect that's really gonna hurt here? Do we need to have a special meeting to bring this in and vote on it?
We don't need to have a special meeting. I've been able to coordinate with ISO and the state fire marshal since they came in April and hold it off. If the decision is made that we no longer want to discuss any consolidations, and that is the decision that I am told, then I will no longer be able to hold off ISO coming in, and we can expect that ISO will come in by the end of the year.
Okay, so not this next meeting, but September, you could have a plan to bring us to where we could vote on.
Yes.
Agreed?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
I would like to see the plan. Is there anybody that opposes this?
I have one question. I think the word consolidation is probably making it confusing is everybody said, we have auto aid for structure fires. That's La Luz, Burro Flats, Jackrabbit Flats, and Dunnigan. And it all goes out as one page. So we do have consolidation, but nobody uses the word consolidation. And I think when you start using the bigger words like consolidation, then people start to get hesitant in it. And we work very well together with La Luz. When we have one, if La Luz comes with 10 people, I'll turn the operation over to La Luz Fire Chief because they're his people. And we do work very close together. And I think it's just a matter of trying to get by the words and the part that may hurt people or make people is on your para and stuff is maybe somehow it can be changed when you have auto aid that all of them get credit for their time and stuff for that. So that if I come with 2 and we're an auto aid group, he comes with 10, we still get credit, the fire department there gets credit for using their people. Or you have everybody join each other's fire departments. Everybody belongs to each fire department. Then you would cover the part of getting the coverage, because like for para, we have very few fires in Burro Flats. So we get very little rating on fires. But when we do have fires, we get 5 people, we can usually get 5 people. And that's basically what we need because you can't count a tender operator as a fireman. A tender operator they stay in the truck. So you have to have theoretically 5. So, but I think we do that. I think it's just a matter of everybody coming to agreement on it. And we have very, very good luck and very good cooperation between the auto aid groups, and then we also have the mutual aid group, where if it's not a structure fire, and if we have a brush fire, and we get there, we realize we need help, then we do ask for the mutual aid part of it. But structure fires is auto aid, and every one of us gets atoned at the same time. So I think, the consolidation is already there. It's just a matter of how it's said.
Well, in my eyes, this is a way to keep our firehouses open and running.
Sure.
And
That's what
that's-
all our goal is.
Yes, and to take care of Otero County, the citizens. That's where I'm looking at this. So,
Okay, do we need to vote on this?
No, you can just direct staff to bring something forward in
Okay, that's what I
September.
thought. Okay, so you're going to bring it to us for the September meeting? You're going to bring us a plan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have any other questions or anything? Because we probably need to move on. It's already 11, so,
and that'll
okay.
keep us safe until,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Okay, all right, thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it all.
Okay, we're going to move on to the consent agenda, and we're pulling item number 8. Due to the treasurer's office not submitting reports in a timely manner, we're not going to be able to vote on this today, so we're going to take that off. Under new business, we're going to also take off number 22 and 23. So I'm going to move on. Did you guys want to remove anything else from consent? Did you have anything from consent that you needed removed?
No.
No? Okay. All right, we'll start with consent agenda item number 1, request approval of accounts payable bill list 49, 49A, 50, 50A, 51, 52, and 52A. Number 2, request approval of healthcare assistance claims and disposition claims for July 2025. Number 3, request approval of June 11, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Number 4, request approval of June 18, 2024 special meeting minutes. Number 5, request approval of resolution number 7-25-24/112-65 road fund program in the amount of $268,881 administered by the New Mexico Department of Transportation Cooperative. Number 6, request approval of resolution number 7-25-24/112-66 road fund program for the fiscal year 2025 in the amount of $407,837. Number 7, request approval of resolution number 7-25-24/112-67 budget adjustments, final FY 2024. We're skipping number 8. Number 9, request approval to award RFP 24-019 pharmacist consultant for a 1-year contract. Number 10, request approval to award RFP 24-021 medical transport services for a 1-year contract. Number 11, request approval of an agreement between Otero County and Boundary Line Foundation for reimbursable services funding. Number 12, request approval of an agreement between New Mexico Finance Authority and Otero County for fiscal year 2025 in the amount of $249,256 for the E911 grant. Number 13, request approval of an agreement between Otero County and the Southeastern New Mexico Economic Development District, COG, to serve as the fiscal agent of the 2024 capital outlay grants. Number 14, request approval of a grant agreement between Otero County and the Department of Finance and Administration in the amount of $1,700,000 for the replacement of the roof for the property located at 300 Texas Avenue in Alamogordo, New Mexico. Number 15, request approval of a grant agreement between Otero County and the Department of Finance and Administration in the amount of $473,000 for the purchase of road equipment for the Otero County Road Department. Number 16, request approval of a grant agreement between Otero County and the Department of Finance and Administration in the amount of $425,000 for the purchase of vehicles for the Otero County Sheriff's Department. Number 17, request approval of an agreement between Otero County and San Juan County for the housing of juvenile detainees, non-guaranteed, in the amount of $475 an inmate per day. Number 18, request approval of an agreement between Lee County and Otero County to house detainees in the amount of $150 per day for each adult detainee and $300 an inmate per day. Number 19, request approval for the reclassification of a communication officer position to a training QA specialist role with a pay of $24.50 per hour. Number 20, request approval to apply for the National Rifle Association grant for range of development in the amount of $25,000. Whew. Get a motion?
I will make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, do we have any unscheduled? communications?
We have, I think we have a couple.
Okay. Thank you. Casey Mangan, am I saying that right?
Good morning, Commissioner members.
Good morning. And you've got 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Casey Mangan. I'm an attorney at New Mexico Immigrant Law Center. We provide free legal services to immigrants throughout the state, and we represent people at all 3 of the ICE detention centers in New Mexico. I regularly provide, and have the last 4 years, provided legal services to people at the Otero County Processing Center down in Chaparral. Throughout the last 4 years, people detained there have told me about the abhorrent conditions and lack of due process rights that they have suffered. I've heard dozens of cases of medical neglect, including after a heart attack for one man. People have been denied the right to an attorney. Recently, they've started ignoring legal call requests for myself and other practitioners. Due process and human rights are simply not respected at the Otero County Processing Center. Attempts to receive adequate care or due process are often met with retaliation, usually in the form of solitary confinement. The abhorrent conditions came to a head recently when Joan Javier Benavides Quintana passed away at the age of 32, which is very scary to think about because that's how old I am. He is at least the 3rd person to die while in civil immigration custody at Otero County Processing Center. Complaints about these conditions have been made over the last decade. Oversight agencies have made numerous reports about these deficiencies. However, ICE and MTC have allowed the facility to continue to operate in this way, resulting in the continued suffering of thousands. Simply put, the facility is beyond repair. And you might ask, what do the people of Otero County get for all of this? Actually, nothing. A new UNM report from earlier this year shows unemployment rates in the county have actually increased since the facility was opened. Most people that work at those facilities, including the one in Otero, live in other counties or in other states. This study has also shown there's no statistical benefit to local economies when such private detention centers open up, and there's also no drawbacks to the local economies if such detention centers close. I actually happen to have a copy of the report. I'd be happy to share it with you all. We urge Otero County to allow the contract with ICE to expire and to not renew it in March of 2025. We can no longer allow ICE and a private corporation to profit off the death and human suffering of others in Otero County. Closure is the only way to protect people from further harm and safeguard our New Mexican value of respecting human rights. Furthermore, closure will have no economic drawbacks for the county. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you.
I can provide a copy of the report to you all or to...
Give it to me, I'll get them copies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, esteemed commissioners, I'm speaking here as an individual. My name is Shara Atkinson, some of you know me, and I live at 2000 First Street, Desert Palms Mobile Home Estates. We are a senior-only park, so everyone's at least 55. We are involved in a frighteningly bureaucratic black hole. On June 14th, a leak in our gas lines was discovered in the state of New Mexico's mobile home park. We were billed monthly with our space rental payments. The corporate owners have been investigating options, and after discovering that reworking all the existing gas lines would take months or even years, as required for the service to be restored, they investigated an option with Pinnacle Propane. Then last Thursday, July 18th, the city of Alamogordo served notice to the park and tenants that installing propane is against city ordinances. So we're back to square one. Still no gas service for over a month and no resolution in sight. At a tenant meeting, we were also informed that an upgrade to an all-electric home, which is another option, would require installation of transformers in the park to handle the extra load, and homeowners would have to purchase all new appliances. Wiring and breakers required inside and outside. Few of our residents would be able to do that financially. So it appears we were left with no viable options. We cannot convert to propane for the city of Alamogordo. We're not able to convert to electric service without expensive upgrades. And we cannot do a major repair at the current leaks and a phased-in replacement of the remainder of the gas lines in the park per NM Gas. Completing any of this in a timely manner before winter sets in is an unknown. We understand that White Sands Mobile Home Park has been waiting on a contractor to replace their lines. They've been without gas service for 5 months and still have not broken ground. They're supposed to start sometime in August, but that's, that will be seen. And we can't even ethically sell our homes with our current substandard utilities. We're homeowners, we only rent our spaces. We can't just walk away from this bad situation. We see 2 solutions available to us, which you guys may not have any input on this, but we're just trying to let everyone know the issues. And someone may know someone who can help us out of this black hole. Because, we can't go to propane. We can't, it takes too long to be able to replace all the lines before the services turn back on. And it's expensive to go upgrade to electric. So, our senior citizens will be huddling around electric space heaters to stay warm over this winter. What would you do if these senior citizens were your mother, father, sister, or brother?
Okay, that's your time. Would you mind if she gave you that paperwork just so we have the address and stuff? Would you give that to Pamela?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any ideas, any help that anybody can offer? We're certainly open to any suggestions.
Okay.
But we're having a letter writing campaign also. So you may get a letter.
Okay.
Because you're our commissioner.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. We're skipping 22 and 23. So number 24, request approval of an agreement between Otero County.
We had some people online that were going to join us for Unscheduled.
Do you know their names?
Eric.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. I had Eric and, let's see what their names are, I'm sorry. I don't think this morning was asking about time. Oh, I'm sorry, Alex Reynolds. Has anybody logged on, Abe?
There's 3, Nora, Karen, and Alex.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Hello, my name is Alex Reynolds, and I'm an intern at Las Americas, which is a nonprofit that provides free legal services to low-income immigrants and non-citizens in Texas and New Mexico. What I see when I enter the Otero Immigrant Detention Center is a place that dehumanizes. In that facility, people don't have names, they are called by numbers. The people that I've met who are detained are discriminated against daily for their nationality and race. Many of those I've interviewed were afraid and decided that it was safer to walk here from their country than to stay in their homes. The detained people with children told me that all they wanted was to be let out so they could hug their sons and daughters, but instead they are constantly told that they are threats to society and that they are worth less than the people who already live in this country. Why do we treat them as if they were different from us? The guards insult them and treat them like less than human. The medical service they receive are limited and slow. The food is sometimes spoiled. The treatment of those with mental health issues is to lock them in a room by themselves. So many are afraid of talking about their mental and emotional states of depression and anxiety. My detainee friends have told me that the only thing that helps them get through this hard time is phone calls with their families, but a few weeks ago, ICE took away that privilege and now charge them 45 cents a minute, which does not sound like much, but when you make a few dollars a day like they do, it is a lot. These people have told me that they are willing to work and pay taxes, but instead we have them locked up against their will and pay for them and their time in Otero with our own tax dollars. We are taught that these people are dangerous and deserve to be locked in cages, but what I saw when I entered this detention center is human beings, no different from you and me. We at Las Americas are pushing to end all ICE contracts with companies, mainly like MTC, that run detention centers in New Mexico, and we believe that there are opportunities for economic justice for this county that are not associated with companies that put human beings in cages. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also have my associate Karen that is with me in this time slot because I don't think I took up the whole 3 minutes.
Hello, can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Perfect. Good morning, my name is Karen Enriquez Fajardo, and I'm also an intern for the Las Americas Immigrant Advocacy Center in El Paso, Texas. As an intern, I have traveled to the Otero County Processing Center to visit clients on numerous occasions, and it was the first detention center I'd ever been to. I could tell right away that the needs of those detained are unmet. First, it is challenging for pro bono legal service providers like Las Americas to visit clients. My fellow interns and I have scheduled meetings with clients at least 48 hours in advance and still wait extensive periods of time to see each of them. I even traveled to Otero one day to speak with a client, and the guards told me our client refused to meet with me that day. However, after talking to his family, I found out that the Otero guards never advised our client of my legal visit and that I was lied to. The delay and lack of communication and organization from Otero staff is reflective of the blatant disregard among staff for a detainee's right to legal representation. Second, the living conditions for people detained at Otero is concerning. Clients have told us that they have found mucus and glass in their meals. Our clients have been thrown into solitary confinement without due process, and in solitary, they have colder and smaller meal sizes. Since ICE recently ended free legal calls for people in detention to contact their family, detainees are further isolated, unknowing of how their family, including their children, are doing. Those in Otero shouldn't be treated like criminals. They are people who are forced to flee their countries, and the mistreatment of migrants and asylum seekers in Otero shows that it is not a safe place for asylum seekers to be kept. I urge you to not renew your contract with ICE on March 31st, 2025. Otero should not want to be connected to a private entity that is making money off of committing human abuses in New Mexico, in Otero County, and in your community. To end, I leave you with a quote by someone I've spoken to in Otero. I struggle with seeing officers do whatever they want because there are no cameras. I listen to the guards out of fear, not respect. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think there's one more, isn't there? Ms. Nora? I think Ms. Nora. Someone maybe.
Hello,
Hello.
can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nora, and I have been interning at the New Mexico Immigrant Law Center for the past month and a half. During this time, I worked with several people detained in the individual. He lived in the United States for over a decade and contributed significantly to his community, family, and this country. Despite being married to a U.S. citizen and having a U.S. citizen family, ICE refuses to release him. Furthermore, despite President Biden's new policy, which offers a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants who are married to U.S. citizens, ICE still refuses to release him. After hearing from this man's wife and kids who are U.S. citizens, the situation became even more devastating. I heard nothing but kind words as he has spent his time in the United States working hard to support his family in every way possible. While this individual is detained, his family is grieving the loss of an upstanding community member who embodies the values of this nation. The conditions I heard about from talking to individuals detained at passing of a detainee in Otero Some of the other detainees decided to protest. Some detainees who had gotten to know him well and who were present on the day of his passing felt he unjustly died due to medical neglect. The detainees who spoke up were met with retaliation from the officers. They were put into solitary and had their voices silenced. The events leading up to this death and the following aftermath are not isolated incidents. In my conversations, I heard about instances of medical neglect and retaliation by officers. The retaliation often included physical force and solitary confinement. Due to these conditions, I urge you to cancel your contract with ICE. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it? That's all, everybody? Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to new business. Number 24, request approval of an agreement between Otero County and New Mexico Department of Transportation for the maintenance, electrical cost, and replacement of a roadway hazard beacons on US 54 and First Street.
So this is on the bypass in First Street, right? Is what they're referring to?
Yes, this is the one we talked about a month, 2 months ago, and you wanted RB to look into some of the legalities of whether we're required to pay for these things.
And we currently don't have an agreement, right?
On this one?
We have an agreement for this one. This is gonna be an amendment to add the flashing beacons.
That we have to buy.
No, and from what I was told, they're already in, aren't they?
Yes, they've
Yeah.
already installed.
We're just gonna pay for the
We
maintenance
have
and
to pay for the
replacement.
maintenance.
And this is a state statute that we have to.
Oh,
Unfunded mandate.
unfunded mandate, I was going to say so. So we really don't have a choice.
No.
Okay.
Do we have a collection method? An 18-wheeler rolls over and takes them all out so that we can go after their insurance company? Do we ever do that as a county to get reimbursed?
That happened recently on that.
We have
It was on the loose road, right? The one.
We have done it on guardrail.
Yeah.
But we have done that with guardrail incidents.
Okay. Yeah, there is a process. One of the signals that we have an agreement with Alamogordo to help, they do the maintenance, got hit and insurance paid for the
Repair.
replacement.
Okay, all right. You have any questions? No? Okay. All right.
So we still need to vote on it.
I know. Yeah, I was going to say we have to vote on it. All right, so I make a motion to request approval of an agreement between Otero County and New Mexico Department of Transportation for the maintenance, electrical cost, and replacement of a roadway hazard beacons on US 54 and First Street.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 25, request approval to pay for the new lighting at the intersection of US 54 and Angelina Boulevard.
Similar situation, just more pricey lighting.
No kidding.
Now, this one is going to be for the repair and maintenance, not the initial installation.
No, they're paying for initial installation.
Yes.
Okay, so it
Yeah.
says
Which-
pay for new lighting.
Yeah.
Which is a
Well,
lot.
I mean the maintenance and care of those
Yeah.
ones they're in.
Okay.
So from when RB and I talked about this, I'm not going to say any more on that. I'll leave that alone. Yeah, this is for the maintenance on it.
So should we, when you read that, should we make sure we say maintenance instead of the new lighting?
You could say excluding
It says it right below it.
Request approval to pay for the new lighting at the intersection.
Right underneath your finger in the paragraph, it tells you that.
Well, I know, but I just want in the wording that we vote, to pay
See,
for
on
the
the-
maintenance of the lighting.
Because see, right now it says to pay for the new lighting.
Yeah, we can squeeze that in.
To pay for the
Request
maintenance.
approval to pay for the maintenance.
Yeah, the
Of the
maintenance.
lighting.
I apologize for not wording it.
That's all right.
Okay. I make a motion for the approval to pay for the maintenance of the lighting at the intersection at US 54 and Angelina Boulevard.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, number 26, request approval to schedule and advertise a public hearing regarding a wireless tower ordinance.
Commissioners, you may recall last month you awarded a bid to this company that will draft an ordinance for us that you'll be reviewing. And it will be for applicants that are now required to come in and apply to put up towers, to put communications on towers. There will be some associated fees. We do not have to collect those fees. We get a portion of them that come from this company. There's no cost to us. Of course, I told you all this when you awarded the bid. This process is simply to schedule the public hearing so you can review and consider the ordinance and the fees associated with that. So we just have to schedule a hearing. And we will not be able to do it at the next meeting because we don't have enough time to, we're required that 14 days of advertisement. So I don't know if you want to do it at the next regular meeting or you want to have a special. I don't think it's going to be a big hot topic that you're going to need hours for.
I would think just schedule it for the September meeting.
Okay.
Agree.
For the September or the?
At the regular meeting in September.
Because August is just in a couple
Yeah,
of weeks.
we
Since we
have
have this one so
deadline
late
is
in the month,
Monday.
so.
Okay.
Okay, so I make a motion to request approval to schedule and advertise a public hearing regarding a wireless tower ordinance. And we're going to do that at the next meeting,
September meeting.
September.
And when drafting this ordinance, isn't there some sort of a statute for room to allow for a tower to fall in case of a disaster that we need to make sure is worded in there?
I've already received the draft ordinance. I know RB hasn't had a chance to look at it yet. We will have the consultant here that can answer those questions or online.
Okay.
Because I'm not real familiar with that. Matt has been somewhat involved in this and will know some of it, but that's why we hired this guy.
Okay.
All right, I made the motions. Anybody second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, and we already did number 27, so number 28, request approval of a community service grant for the Otero County Film Office in the amount of $1,000 for fiscal year 2024-2025.
Commissioners, this was not submitted for you to consider during budget, so it's come after the fact, and we did fund last year.
Okay, well, I'm definitely in favor of
I am
that.
too.
Okay. Okay, all right.
I make
So-
a motion, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we issue the $1,000 for the community service grant for Otero County Film Office.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yay. All right, number 29, request approval of an agreement between Tularosa Basin Regional Dispatch Authority and GET RES Q911 to contract 3 dispatchers for $50 an hour to help with staffing. No, we didn't pull that one.
Okay.
So I visited with Pamela a little bit on this, because at first I thought, God, $50 an hour, but when you take,
It's not that bad
no,
when you
when
figure
you
in
take
benefits and
what
stuff.
we have to pay, the difference, and it's their problem on getting the 3 people.
Yeah,
So
Sorry about that, I was handling a
it's okay. I think we're fixing
Lincoln
to,
County.
I think we're good.
yeah, I think we're going to vote on it. I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, all right. Okay, I make a motion to request approval of an agreement between Tularosa Basin Regional Dispatch Authority and GET Rescue 911 to contract 3 dispatchers for $50 an hour to help with staffing.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Done. Okay, so we'll move on to our commissioner discussion. Commissioner Matherly?
All right. First, I want to thank Commissioner Fabrella for the work and the coordination and getting the donation site and everything going on. That was a
It was amazing.
major deal going on there. We're very fortunate for our community, all the people that came out to help, all the people that came to donate, trucks, trailers, people's time. It was amazing. It was great to see. So, thank you, Amy. I really appreciate everything you did on that.
Kudos.
Thank you for your help.
I did miss the Chaparral meeting last month because I wasn't there. They're still wanting the same thing. They're wanting us to help try to make them I don't even know how to say it. To make them get bigger and join better. And I keep trying to tell them, you've got to do that amongst yourself. I can't help
Like they want to
you.
incorporate, is that?
Well, that's not even in the talk now. They just want to get more people to come to the meetings and for the county to do more for them. But they won't tell me what they really want us to help them do. So they're a mess right now. So we're trying, you can have David, it's a handful, you know. But anyway, I went to a meeting with Big Brothers and Sisters the other day. Nick Paul was there, Senator Burke was there. It was a very interesting meeting. There was the board from Albuquerque was there. They have a lot of great things going. They are going to legislative next year with some proposals, trying to ask for some money and stuff. I recommended them to get every fact, figure, anything they could get. They have the time, if they can work it from day one of school till the first semester, to show improvements, to show progress, to show that it really works. Their main deal is the one-on-one student help. So it was a very interesting conversation. So I told them I'm all behind them. Anything I can do or help from county-wise, let me know. I'm sure all of us are in that same boat. Sit through another one of the BLM meetings. They're getting really close to having their final plan and everything. There's still a jillion questions coming in, and their biggest answer is, we're shorthanded, we don't have the people to do it, so this is how we're gonna have to man this. The other day, I was invited to go to the BLM meeting in Albuquerque. It's coming out on the land use rules that are fixing to come out. I have asked RB if he would go in my place because this will kind of fall in with the Boundary Foundation. This is going to be for if you want to go camping on BLM land. He's going to have way more, I think, input, and he's going to have to deal with this way more than what if I went. So I think he would have hopefully consume a lot more than what I would. So, and that's basically about what I got.
Mr. Umbrella?
I attended some housing meetings locally, and also due to the Chevron decision, I sat in on some webinars nationally and trying to learn my best about what this is going to do for.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal, and it's a very confusing deal still. So I'm still learning about that. Most exciting thing that I did is I went to the RNC, which was an honor and a privilege and so exciting. And so I didn't think that Commissioner Matherly would want earrings. So I brought you this from the RNC. And I brought you earrings from the RNC.
Thank you.
The unity, the positivity, the excitement of the direction we can take our country from that meeting, if we can just stay with that momentum and stop attacking each other and take it and improve everything, I think our country is going to be going in the right direction. So
I'm glad you got to go.
It was an amazing experience. It was a long 2 weeks.
Yep,
but it
I
was
enjoyed the
amazing.
pictures.
Yes. I'm getting caught up.
I bet you are.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, since our last meeting, I attended the entrance audit meeting for the county. I attended the board meeting for the Tularosa Basin Historical Society. We performed the annual inspection at the Otero County Jail along with Commissioner Matherly. I attended the New Mexico Association of Counties Conference in Las Vegas, New Mexico. Assisted with the loading and organizing donations for the fire victims in Otero and Lincoln County along with Commissioners Barella and Matherly. Attended Zoom meeting for the Eastern Area Workforce Development Board. Attended a reception at the Chamber of Commerce hosted by Jan Waffle with the Otero County Film Office that was amazing. That was very good. It was really nice. Attended the Army Band performance at the Flickinger Center, which was also very cool, but we missed Juliet performing since she retired. She was there but not performing on stage. Attended a meeting held at NMSUA hosted by the Small Business Administration regarding help for the fire victims in Otero and Lincoln County, and that was very informative. Participated in the 4th of July parade. I attended the National Association of Counties annual conference in Tampa, Florida, and before I got there, received a personal invitation to a border states meeting, which was invitation only to counties that are actually up against the border. And it was pretty informative. We had commissioners there from California, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and there were attorneys. There were a lot of different people in the group. And it was interesting to hear how all of this is affecting their individual counties. In California, they're having a lot of trouble with sewage backing up from Mexico into California, which is not necessarily an immigration problem, but they're really getting hammered in California. And since Texas and Arizona have hardened their borders, we're getting more funneling up through New Mexico now of the immigrants and stuff. So it was an interesting meeting, and we're supposed to have more. So I'm curious to see where this goes. I attended the Main Street Startup event on New York Avenue, and it's a really cool thing that Main Street's doing. They're putting 3 new businesses in one building. And that way they get to go in there, they train them on how to run a business, how to file their taxes, how to just get up and running. And then after, I can't remember if it's 6 months or a year, they move out of that location and they move into a place of their own. So there were 3 new businesses in there. It was packed, had a great turnout, so it's a really good idea. So go see them down on New York Avenue.
It'll take weeks.
I think it's longer than that.
They said 8 weeks to decide if they are going to stay or continue the business.
Okay. Well, it was really cool, and there were it was packed. Had a great turnout, so Nolan Ojeda ramrodded that. He did great. And also I attended the New Mexico-Arizona Coalition of Counties Board meeting, and I'm leaving as soon as this meeting's over to go to Littlefield, Texas for a meeting with American Steward of Liberty is hosting it, and State Texas Agriculture Commission, Sid Miller's going to be kind of hosting the whole thing. So they're going to be talking about the Muleshoe Muleshoe Animal Refuge, which is 6,700 acres right now that encompasses land in Texas and New Mexico, and they're wanting to expand that to 7 million acres. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight at 7 o'clock. And that's what I've been doing since the last meeting.
All right, Commissioners, it's been a busy month. I'm going to go over some simple topics and a couple more important. First of all, our website got a brand new facelift on the 16th of the month. I would have reported that at the last meeting that it's going to happen, but we didn't have it. So new facelift, fresh, exciting. Take a look at it.
Barely learned how to use the old one.
The information is all still there that was there before. It just looks a lot better.
I'll be emailing Sylvia. Help!
Where's it at?
Some of you may be familiar with the program. They have talked at NMC, the IGNITE program, which stands for Inmate Growth Naturally and Intentionally Through Education. The Sheriff's Association has got this going. Me and Nina had a meeting with the director to discuss the program, how it could benefit us, if it's something we want to do. It does reduce recidivism. They get a better attitude towards law enforcement, understanding they're there to help. It's got a lot of benefits. But in discussions with them, we learned with our new iPads and our Learn to Earn program, we're kind of already on that path. We did explain some of the classes that they take, the certificates they receive. So kind of what we're missing with their program is instead of just getting a certificate, they have graduations. They bring them all in, they let families come in, they make a big deal out of it. So we kind of talked about that. Of course, we don't have the space some of these other facilities have to do that, and enough staff on the floor to bring family members in, and bringing other agencies in to educate. So it's something we're looking at. They've invited Nina and I up to come and look at the program in the facility that co-piloted this, so it may be something we do in fall, go visit Flint, Michigan.
Don't drink the water.
Right. Right. So anyway, that's exciting. Nina and I are working on that. The other one, I was contacted by the forestry There had been some money allocated along high rolls for residents to do some mitigation for fires. And not enough residents took advantage of it. They couldn't spend the money. So they had the money reallocated for other projects. And they reached out to me and proposed a project on Dry Canyon in our right-of-way. It's 31 acres for individual hazard tree removal. And this is something that Tom and Matt were interested in doing. So I took it upon myself to do a landowner request for assistance. And they're working up a work plan now. They're looking at plat maps, where our boundaries are, where our right-of-ways are. So when I get that, I'll bring it to you and let you know what the plan is. And then the last thing that I came across accidentally yesterday, Eric came and told me that rumor had it that a detention facility was going to be built next to our facilities in Chaparral. So I contacted the wardens at MTC. Sure enough, MTC has been talking to a company, and somewhere I have their name. Humanitarian Solutions Group is going to build an immigration camp on 100 acres south of our facilities, 1,500 bed facility for unaccompanied minors. And the reason they've reached out to MTC is they want to latch onto our wastewater treatment plant. They want us to expand for another 4,000 people. I don't think a private company should be latching on to a government facility.
I say no.
And I did contact corporate with MTC. I was a little perturbed. We weren't involved in these calls. We weren't involved in the conversations. They did apologize and said they were embarrassed. One warden even said he thought we had representation. We clearly didn't. And they have been told not to communicate with this company anymore. If they have any communications, to contact me. One of them is doing damage control and has emailed me wanting to meet with me soon. But I know your opinions of the facility in El Paso. So I just want you to be aware of this. If you want me to continue conversations to share our resources, I can. But that is totally up to the board.
I say no.
Not unless there's a tremendous amount of money offered.
And what gives one private company more benefit than somebody else to latch onto our utilities? I think if they're going to spend the money, they can spend the money to do it right and be self-sufficient.
Exactly.
Well, I would say they come in and build a nice new big giant brand new facility, and then MTC just move right across and leave us.
And I don't know who's going to run this facility. They're building it for someone. Could be the state, could be the feds, I don't know.
It's Trent. Are you looking to see who's out there?
Yeah, all I can see is an arm and okay. Yeah, I agree with them.
Okay, that's all I have.
Endeavors.
Endeavors,
This
yes.
is the company that
Hired them?
allegedly may be running it. It's weird. There's not a whole lot of info about it. I don't have too much to report, commissioners. One good thing is I think it was through is our congressional leadership on the federal level got us funding for the flood study that we were wanting to do for the county.
Good.
That will be conducted by the Army Corps of Engineers. I don't know, it's a pretty significant amount of money. Don't have all the details on how it's gonna work. Pablo reached out to the Corps of Engineers to see the way forward now that the funding was approved, but we haven't heard back yet. So it's good in that my hope is we get a comprehensive look at the flooding, and that will enable us to put together a strategy for mitigating it, and that will also, having that data will allow us to apply for other sources of funding to help with whatever plan we come up with.
Is this general flooding across the county, or one certain, they have a project they're wanting to do for flood control? like they did on the south end? Is this,
This one would be to identify areas where we could do projects like that. But in the discussions I've had so far, I wanted it to be pretty comprehensive because we have different pockets within the county where there are flooding issues, but as far as the areas that are in the basin, we should be looking at how to capture and stop the water coming off the mountain rather than building something where the flooding is happening in the community. Because we can use the water and we're not accomplishing a whole lot if we're just doing it at the subdivision or something where the flooding is happening. So that's kind of where my thought process is on right now.
yeah, I didn't know if they had like the big ditch they did with the concrete ditch and just dump it out in the flats. I didn't know if they were gonna do another part of that or what it was consisting of.
Yeah, there's no real idea of where it will go or what it'll come up with. It's more of just looking at where the water is, where it's going, and from there making decisions.
Well, that would be nice to capture that water instead of letting it just run off somewhere.
Yeah, going out to the flats, it gets wasted because it gets brackish and then you can't do anything with it. So, and it's good water right now before that. Other meetings I did have involved meetings discussing the BLM rule that adds conservation and it basically legally adds it as one of the multi-use options. And so there are 3 lawsuits that have currently been filed against the BLM over the rule. So we're watching those and seeing how we can assist or join. And one was filed by Wyoming or Montana, and another one by North Dakota, and then an organization filed the other one. But another issue we're looking at is a Forest Service rule that is called the Old Growth Forest Rule, and the intent behind the rule is to essentially be able to apply a one-size-fits-all forest plan to all of the forests across the nation, and we're opposed to it because it's not the way to go. It's not the way these things should be addressed. Each forest has its distinct characteristics and issues, and it needs to be considered at the local level and not just a national blanket approach. So there's going to be a comment period, and we may be asked to help fund some comments that are submitted that are arguing against the implementation of that rule. Like mentioned earlier, the Chevron doctrine was overturned, and that is going to greatly assist us, at least the hope is, in some of these battles. So we'll see where that goes. That's all I have, I think.
Okay, and are we having an executive session? Is this
Yes, I've
correct?
got something real quick, take 10 minutes.
Okay, all right.
Can we ask Sheriff Black to sit in on that for a second? Can we ask him a question in
Yeah,
in
if it's
executive
pertaining to
session?
what's on the agenda, yes.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Okay, so I make a motion to hold an executive session under NMSA 1978 10-15-1-1-8 to discuss contracts.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.